everybody is in Caer Dineval. This is one of the few places in Icewind Dale that is like built up with like a defensive position in that they have a castle. It is one of the smallest of the 10 towns. They that is their crest there. They are quite proud of their castle. They are a fishing folk, and at this point, they are a dying town. I think walking in, you saw a little less than like about a third of the houses have any sort of smoke coming out of their chimneys. And effectively, yeah, you're just being kind of housed right now in the like storage room, which is empty, of this tavern, which is empty, in a town which is empty. So you all are welcome to wake up on today, Tarsak the second. It is heading towards what might be spring, if there was actually some thaw potential in mind for Icewind Dale, but you all can kind of pick up as you'd like. Um, if you'd like to do anything in the back room before Rourke shows up, let me know. Otherwise, pretty early in the morning, Rourke's going to start making some noise and eventually kind of pop around to you all.
So Brennick would he didn't really have too much to do in the morning, so he would maybe just spend some time kind of looking through his book, and then when work arrives, he would kind of greet him, thank him again for letting them stay.
Yeah, I think ditto with Luther. Sort of thanking him for the stay. Luther would be concerned about kind of this melancholy aspect of Rourke and might ask him um, if anything's bothering him or weighing on him that he'd care to share.
Um, how do you want to phrase that, or is that how you're saying it too?
Okay, all right. Let me see if I can role play this a bit. Um, you know, uh, your hospitality last night um, was very warm and in such a cold town. Um, if you don't mind me saying, uh, I feel I see a shadow over you. I feel there's a heaviness, and if there is something you'd like to speak to, uh, I'd be happy to lend an ear and uh, just listen or help if I could.
I don't I I don't there's I'm not sure you can help. I think everything it's this is her fault. Everything is slowly dying, and soon we shall follow. There's I I don't know if there is any room to help. People don't come to town, and we have no money coming in. We can sell some of our fish, but less and less fishermen stay here. As they leave, the town gets smaller and smaller. I'm I There may just not be anything left for us.
Is Travion in that same tavern you're saying?
Yep. As far as things go, yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna smash you in like clay Their characters have not met each other, because Justin has basically switched to a new character. There is no reason that you are not three random people who are in this tavern at the same time and basically experiencing the same thing.
All right, well, Travion's definitely going to just kind of, hearing the hustling and tussling of things going on, definitely going to get up, make my way downtown, look over, just nod to Rourke and say, thank you, thank you. I couldn't help but overhear. It was her fault.
What was that last thing?
Said it was, I couldn't help but overhear it was her fault.
I don't know. Are you making a deception check here? What are you trying to get at?
Oh no! When I was like walking down the stairs, wasn't Rourke saying like it's all her fault? Like people aren't coming, or did I
Oh,
mishear
okay,
that?
okay. Uh, uh, have you stepped outside, Aurel? The darkness, this cold, it's killing all of the 10 towns. Everyone here.
Yeah, it's been like this for years. We'll direct that towards Travion.
Ah, yes, I understand where you're referring to now. Um, hey, my name's Travion. What's your name?
Brennick. And he'll kind of give a nod and this is good a point of time to kind of give like a physical description. Brannick's about like a little over 6 feet, pretty thin. It was kind of tough to tell when he's bundled up in the winter clothes, but he's got kind of icy blue eyes, pretty long black hair, kind of pale, uh, fair skinned, almost kind of running to pale. Looks to be about 30, maybe, early 30s. Kind of always seems to be like a little bit of like kind of the beginning of a sardonic smile, kind of on like the edge of his mouth. Similar to kind of what his token looks like in roll 20. Um, there's a he's carries like a dagger at his belt, but you don't see any other visible kind of weapons on him. He's got a backpack. So just wanted to give that brief description.
Yeah, that's great. That's a perfect time. So as you nod over to Travion, what you're looking at basically is a 6 foot Triton who you almost can't even tell he's a Triton. He does his best to hide it with his hair. It's like longer black hair, but it's got a tinge of green that you can kind of barely make out. His skin is more of a pearl color. So just at a quick glance, especially in dim lighting, he could pass for like having fair skin, and maybe if his hair is covered or if his ears are covered under a hat, he may even get away looking like an elf or a halfling on occasion. But he is kind of slender built, about 185, and he's a traveler, so his skin is kind of worn, not by any means like perfect skin, kind of like weathered. And yeah, that is Travion, and he's kind of like, so what brings you here?
I come from south originally, but I ran into had a bit of a disagreement with some compatriots down there, so I decided to come up here for a bit, see if I could make my fortune, as it were.
Ah, yes, who doesn't love gold?
Can you also describe Luther for us?
Yeah, perfect. So Luther nods or shakes his hands, whatever and says, my name is Luther. I too am from the south. Okay, so to describe Luther, he's He's kind of a strapping guy. Like you might take him to be and he is from the farmland, but you might take him to be a farmer, broad-shouldered, kind of a round face, not as, if you look at my token, that guy's kind of, uh, much cleaner and put together. Luther is actually just kind of more of looks like a simple fellow. Wearing chain, carrying a crossbow. There's a certain heaviness to Luther, which he explains as he came here to the north with his best friend from childhood not long ago, seeking adventures and gold and a little bit to put good into this world. And his friend was taken in the blink of an eye by one of these crag cats that seem common in these areas. And although I've only been here for a matter of weeks already, I've lost 3 or 4 companions to this cruel land. Around Luther's neck, he wears a symbol of, and I forget what god I worship. It's the dawn god.
Lathander.
Luthander, right? So around his neck, he wears a symbol of Luthander, and in response to Rourke, in response to Rourke, I think, and as okay, so to Travion, I'll say, I am a cleric of Luthander. And Luthander, he says, and now he sort of addresses this to Rourke, tells us that the dawn is coming, even in the darkest night. So you must not give up hope. I know things are bleak, but there must always be hope. For the dawn always comes. That's what Luthander teaches us.
Well, if you can get your Dawn Father to stand the fuck up, maybe stay up a little bit later in the night, he could smack Oro down into the skies. That would be quite useful. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't walk on this world. Yes, that's a problem.
And that's exactly why I'm here and ready to give my life to try to set things a little bit better in this world, even though this land has already taken the lives of several of my compatriots.
Yeah, Trayvon's gonna shake your hand, nod, and just say, "Hey, that sucks about your companions, but it's crazy, and I appreciate your optimism and your outlook going forward."
Perhaps you'd be interested in. I mean, I think Luther and Brannock have traveled together, right? Or is this the total? Anyway, perhaps you'd be interested in traveling with us and seeing what awaits out there.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you guys should have traveled at least to here together.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, my instant reaction when I say travel with us, I'm already like looking at Brandon because you were talking about gold, which had my interest originally. And then you were saying about how your friends have all been lost to these lands, and everybody seems in poor spirits around here. So I would be initially interested in just kind of perk my head up, and then Brandon, you're going to say something.
Yeah, so Brannick would have said yes, I wouldn't recommend traveling these parts alone if one can help it. So we'd be happy to have you.
I appreciate that. I do one of my grandfathers used to say, "Work smarter, not harder," and traveling alone in these parts seems like it would be much harder. So I think that's a great idea.
Indeed. Then it's settled. And Brannick he'll turn towards Rourke and kind of knowing how it was kind of difficult for him to scrounge up some food last time. He doesn't want to. He's not going to ask for um, a meal before they head out, but so he's just kind of again going to thank him for his hospitality, um, and suggest maybe the three of them maybe head out and start their day.
As far as things go, like, you weren't necessarily supposed to get the impression that he was necessarily hard up for food. It's just that they only eat trout. That was more than anything about the food. It's still a fishing village, so trout is not in short supply.
Oh, okay, because I feel like when we were here the night before, it was like the stew was really thin and it had like a little bit of trout in it. So I thought maybe it was like he was
More
kind of
of that
running
is
low on.
no, no, no. More of that is more that it's like it's not like you're eating a trout to yourself. You're getting like sufficient protein, but that's literally all you get out of it.
Got it. Okay.
But I mean, that's one of those classic things. Like, it's a pretty moot point whether you guys want to actually say that you eat a meal here, and throw down like a couple of copper, or if you want to have a ration. I don't really deal with bookkeeping, so I don't really think it's a big deal either way. Um, and you would recall from the night before, you've already done a lot for him as far as like the gold that you spent. Um, it's not one of those things where anything is really a big deal, whichever direction you take that. I think the big choice for you, though, will be that decision of whether you would like to, at this point, see the town speaker, Crannoc Siever, over at the Caer, where you know he has those new guards, or if I think your initial destination was Caer Konig, and actually looking into the thieves that were up there. I think both of those are in the party notes, and that's kind of where we left at least a little bit of it.
Yeah. So Brannick would, speaking to the others, he would be like, "I'm curious to get a glimpse of these new guards. But should you feel it better to press on directly to Caer Konig, I'd have no objection."
I would. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead.
I would ask, just reading in the party notes right off the bat, the outskirts of the town fear winter wolves as big as horses and as smarter than normal wolves. Is this something that we should be thinking werewolves, or is this something that's known just to be bigger winter wolves?
Oh, so we could have, like, I guess at some point kind of told you about some of, or actually Brannick wasn't there, but Luther could tell you.
Well, I'd say that's the type of thing. Like, if we assume that you all met the night before and actually had a little bit of time already kind of cutting it up in this tavern, there's no reason that you guys cannot have shared that story, in which case Justin and Larry, the humans, can share it with you. Because they have
Okay.
encountered those wolves.
Yeah, so they were essentially, it was a much bigger than average wolf, and it was intelligent. It could speak, and it had some like some magical powers. We initially ran into one of them during a storm while we were trying to essentially take some shelter in like a rocky cliff overhang. Uh, Fought this creature. It was a very, very, very tough fight. Luckily, when the second wolf showed up, it kind of dragged its companion away, so they escaped. But it would be uh, definitely something to be careful about messing with if we were to run into both of them.
Okay, fair enough. I just didn't know if we needed to go to a blacksmith and get some silver tip weapons.
It's very
Yeah.
meta knowledge regardless. You don't necessarily know any of that.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know.
As far as the party knows, they're not werewolves, as far as we know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah. Like, you guys know a little bit more, I would assume, or because you guys have traveled together around these areas, and I just showed up, so I'd agreed to travel with you and kind of say, like, yeah. What do you guys suggest?
It seems to me that we could bring news of Goodmead's new town speaker to the town speaker of this town. That might give us an excuse to see these guards and perhaps hear what's befallen the ill speaker.
That could work.
All right. You guys know where he lives?
I believe the Caer is kind of up on a hill, so it's like easily visible from around town.
Oh, okay. So I'll just be like, I assume it's the big one on the hill.
Yep. So, side note to point out, you all should, even Brannick as well, should definitely have cold weather clothing. And that's one of those things where, on some level, once you are actually traveling, in general, you all look pretty much exactly the same, as this is very thick, like animal skins that are turned in, like, so you've got like many inches of animal fur between your actual gear and the world about you, so you all kind of look like a little bit extra kind of puffbally. And stepping out into the cold, it will be one of those classic moments where the moment you leave the uphill climb, Rourke is already preparing to slam the door behind you and to shut out the cold of the winter. And as you step out into the temperatures, the wind is blowing about 25, 30 miles an hour. It is around negative 40 degrees. This is where Fahrenheit and Celsius coincide, and things are horrific. And this is a good day with pleasant weather as you all sit beneath the feet of Kelvin's cairn. As you leave the uphill climb, you have a little bit of visibility, probably a little bit more than usual. You are able to see most of Caer Dineval below you, as that horseshoe south to north is a uphill climb, and hence the name of the tavern. As to enter this part, you have to walk up that actual hill. And from the uphill climb to the cairn is another about 50 or 100 feet of incline. It gets a little bit steeper before you get to the actual towers of the cairn itself. But you all can progress towards it. It's not especially difficult, except for that moving outside is just one of those things that has its own level of difficulty. But you can head towards the castle and make yourselves known.
All right.
Okay. Shoot. It's too late for me to modify my spells for the day, isn't it?
You can 100% modify your spells, Larry.
All right. Okay. Well, you guys role play it. All right. I'm going to modify. I'm going to get their. I'm sorry. I don't really know the names. Detect poison and disease. Would that be sort of the thing he'd do on a sick person? I would think so. Well, no, he'd know that a sick person is diseased, I suppose. Does he have? Are there any first level or second level spells that are sort of diagnostic spells?
I mean, offhand, I don't know necessarily if there's any spells in particular that you would prepare. That really is one of those things where I always just say you've got to be the expert in your own character. Having your lesser restoration that's automatically prepared, you don't really necessarily need to use other spells if you can just cure any issues that are actually there. And that's one
Right.
of those things that's like you can cure a disease, or you can try to find out if there is a disease using a spell slot, and then you still have to cure it.
Right, and I have medicine and everything. So okay, so I guess I'm prepared to uh, be a bit of a cleric. All right, cool, right on.
But yeah, I don't necessarily think that there's magic out there that is specifically meant for like diagnostic stuff, unless you're just looking at things like detect magic to see if there's a magical influence. Like detect evil and good is the type of thing where you might recognize whether there's like a demon that is, or a ghost that is inside of somebody. That kind of thing, I think, is more where you might have that level of like diagnostics.
Got it.
Yeah, so Brannick would just he'd suggest to Luther um, if his symbol is visible, maybe like outside his cold weather gear, maybe just hiding that, putting it kind of under his clothes, just until just in case. Um, Given they don't know kind of what the situation is here, but otherwise he would kind of be walking pretty openly up towards the Caer.
Luther nods and tucks his symbol beneath his chain.
So inside of Discord, that's kind of a picture of Caer Dineval, as you see, like it kind of winds around. I feel like that's a lower level picture of the bay, the kind of horseshoes, and then you see that the castle and the tavern are both above it all.
Alright, so I'll just approach behind them, just kind of making sure my parka's nice and tight.
Yeah, just keeping an eye out for any of these guards or any other kind of foot traffic along the way.
Make a perception check. So you're walking up the way from uphill climb to the cairn. There's no sign of anybody leaving, no sign of anybody going that way. You guys are blazing fresh tracks.
I just rolled DM. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Those were d6 though. You need to roll d8s,
Oh, once again, my bad.
which is good because that was a horrific roll. Nearly as bad. So if you go into edit your character, if you just click the mace and anvil in the top right, under your class, you can see modify hit points. You just want to look at that where it says rolled hit points and set that to 15. And then what your con is a +3. So you should end up with 24 hit points.
Okay, so I should have rolled hit points at what now?
15. That's what you
15?
just rolled there.
And then the modifier, do I manually do that?
Modify does it for you.
So I'm at 24?
You should be, yep, if you did it right. And then I also need you to roll a d20, but that's a kind of side thing here as well. So as you all are approaching this castle, you are going to see the actual formation of it is two rather large the wrong word is coming to mind here. Turrets are flanking either side of it. It has a large double door that you are coming up to between two little guard outposts. And as you kind of look up on this, castle looks shut up. There's not much sign of anything going on. Let me get a perception from everybody.
I rolled a d20 and rolled horribly just by
Gotcha. That one doesn't actually mean that you're rolling for anything.
Dude, I'm rolling net. I'm getting the net ones out of the way, everybody. Like slipping and sliding up this hill.
No map has appeared on
Yeah, it should
20.
be all black for you all right now.
Right on.
Bam. If you look at the south side of the map, you should be able to see the south side of the castle.
Got
Yeah, so as you all head up to that, Luther is going to be the one who spots that there is a little bit of light flicker from within one of the guard towers, um, or essentially one of the guard posts, just to the right of the doors. But otherwise, again, this castle doesn't look really terribly occupied in the least bit. You see some missile slots, like arrow slots, but in the long run, it doesn't look like people are really living here. If you hadn't been told that Crannoc Siever is here and that he has guards, you would see little evidence that there's anybody alive here.
Must admit, this seems a bit strange.
Indeed. One wonders whether the best course is to pretend that nothing is amiss, or if we should spend some time perhaps wandering around the periphery and seeing if there's signs of life elsewhere around the castle. Although I doubt that there's any other easy way in.
Can I go and just cautiously check the door, like kind of poke at it to see if it's open or loose?
You most certainly can. I need you to roll another d20 though before you actually do that. So you're just going up to the door and you're just going to try to open it, or like just try to shake it?
Well, what I've done basically is like I was stumbling up this hill. I'm having a hard time up this hill. I look over to Luther, and then he looks up at the single light, and I just follow his eyes, see it, kind of look around here, or I'm sorry, Brannick, and then hear what Luther has to say about going around. And I'm like, well, before we go around, I'm just like cautiously stepping up. I'm just gonna like test this door out very sneakily, like maybe. Yeah, that's my intent. Maybe go into stealth, like as
Roll a
sneakily as
stealth check.
possible. Getting them out of the way.
So that is your secret there. You can play that up. You can hide it from their characters as much as you would like. But for what it is, that is essentially part of your motivation inside of Icewind Dale here.
Okay, thank you.
So as you shake the door, you are going to hear from within. Hands off. Who goes there?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. We definitely are here to help, and we are very curious why it seems like no one is here. It looks very dark from outside. Are you okay?
We're sheltering from the cold. No help's needed.
Luther calls out, I am a healer. We have heard that your town speaker has fallen ill.
He's got all the healing he needs. Be on your way.
We have also brought news from elsewhere in 10 towns. We would respectfully request an audience.
What news do you bring?
With all due respect, it is news for the ears of the town speaker himself.
He's too ill to come out to talk to vagabonds. Go on your way.
Too ill, and yet he has all the healing he needs.
Indeed.
Luther puts his hand on Brannick's shoulder and quietly says, perhaps we should not press this fellow too much further.
Brannick will kind of glance back as he feels Luther's shoulder and kind of give like a small nod and then kind of like turn back to the doors. Very well. Thank you for your time. Kind of a bit sarcastically, and then he will kind of step back.
No worries. You're most welcome to have the presence of me.
Travion will step back. Do you want us to put our characters on the board?
You don't necessarily need to be there, but if I've got a map up, you usually mine as well.
All right. Yeah, I'll step back next to Luther and Brannick and just kind of give him the like. I guess this guy doesn't want any help, or like.
You roll an insight. He definitely doesn't want any help.
Dude, is that like 4 nat ones in a row? 3? Dang.
I think that's into the 4. Well, you rolled the 17. So you rolled 2, got the 17, and then 2 more.
I'm impressed. I'm not even mad. It's impressive.
I think the record that I've seen is 3, a high number, and then 2 more. So 5 out of 6. But that's still starkly insane odds right there.
Yeah, in my other game that I play on Wednesdays, I an attack of sneak attack where I do 5d6 sneak attack damage, and I rolled 4 1s and a 2.
Damn.
That's kind of how I do lock picking now. Is it's like based on d6, and so it makes like rogues a little bit better because you can re-roll a 1 is like the fail state. So if it's like a really difficult lock, you might roll like 4d6, and a 1 is the only fail state of it. If you have proficiency, that's a re-roll, and if you have like sneak attack, you can sacrifice sneak attack dice for that day. But like any other character, 4 1s, they're like breaking shit off in that lock. But the rogue is like, okay, you're either gonna break shit off in that lock, or you're about to use your like free reroll and then like sacrifice sneak attacks to ever have a chance at that lock again.
Gotcha. Real quick, also, so we're bringing news from another like decimated area, right?
So
all of 10 towns is suffering.
They're all suffering, right? So everything is pretty decimated. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think like relatively speaking, Goodmead seems a little bit better off because they're kind of, as the town name suggests, they're known for their mead, so they're a little bit more prosperous, but that's just relative to all the other kind of suffering places.
Yeah, Goodmead is the only place that doesn't fish for life. Pretty much everybody else has some level of like their fishing is what brings them life. Goodmead simply makes and sells mead to the other 9 towns. And that makes them in a much better situation. And it should also be noted that there is a saying that will be kind of reoccurring that everybody's in 10 towns for something. And it's basically a reminder that pretty much everybody came here because they were a criminal or something somewhere and had to run away from life in a better place. This is meant to be a desolate, hopeless experience. Right. You will often come in contact with people who are clearly criminals. People who might be a little bit nicer, you might find are more likely falsely accused criminals, or they are charlatans who are ready to stab you in the back. But there is a certain level of you should always expect the worst with pretty much everything. And walking up to this place, you guys should not be thinking, oh, Crannoc Siever is probably doing really good in this place. No, your initial understanding should definitely be this guy is a hostage.
Well, that's what I was asking. Is we're bringing news. What was the news we were bringing that was like the good news, right?
Oh, it was just it was really more of an excuse just to have some sort of excuse to see him, but it was going to be news that Goodmead has elected a new town speaker, and that it was this fellow named Carvath, but it was really just an excuse.
No, but that
Actually,
was the
good news. Their
that was
town
the
speaker got his head smashed in, so they elected a new guy.
But that's the connection I was trying to make. Is we're bringing news about a town speaker to a town speaker, right? And he doesn't want to hear about it. So that is already like piquing my interest that there's something afoot here that is not right. Like we shouldn't just walk away.
Oh,
I
this
don't think
guard
it
is
should be.
definitely.
I don't think it should be surprising to you guys, though, that a guard looks down at you, and if you're not willing to give the information, it's not worth their time. It's not important news. As far as that, I don't think is the shady shit that's going on here.
Oh, okay.
Saying we have news, you guys are nobody. What does it mean that you have news? It doesn't mean a damn thing.
I see. Thank you. Okay. What do you guys think we should do here?
Well, like Luther tries to sort of get the others to turn their back and and very slowly start walking away, so it doesn't look like they're lingering, trying to figure out how to get into the castle. And he's not particularly, I mean, he keeps his voice low, but the wind's blowing 35 miles per hour. So I think he'll say something along the lines of, something's not right. That guard, this business about healed, but has all the healing he needs. I wonder if there's some way we can get into this castle. I wonder if we could. I wonder if they take deliveries of food, or if they have, or if they're in a siege already mentality and have enough of food and water.
We could return to the uphill climb and take a few days trying to get a sense of activity in and out, if they come out for supplies or not.
Why don't
Alternatively, we could carry on to Caer Konig and return back this way some future time. I imagine. I agree with you, Luther. Something odd is going on, and I don't know if perhaps they'll be more wary now that we've made ourselves known.
And then Travion immediately peeks up and says, perhaps the innkeeper would know about their activity. Lest he doesn't, we may be forced to stake it out. And like I'm thinking about the people in town that are here on a daily may know about that activity.
So Rourke would have been the one that actually put you guys onto this, that they've had Crannoc Siever inside of the castle for some time, and always just say that he's too ill to do this or too ill to do that. And they've probably had him do like a public appearance maybe once in the last 2 months.
Oh, I see. I look up and say, how do you guys feel about sneaking in?
It's it's not inconceivable, but the moment the moment the sneak is broken, things will be hostile. I was wondering, but it might be the only way. I was wondering if perhaps some fresh venison or some such might tempt the guards from their, if all they have to eat normally is trout.
I would like to get a bit of a better idea of just what we might be dealing with before sneaking in, but from a kind of nod towards Luther, your hunting idea might have some merit.
I don't mind the hunting idea, but what next? After we bring them venison, and maybe then they let us in. They certainly wouldn't let us have the run of the place, and they could just take the venison and shut the door.
True.
Like if we have a plan after opening the door with the venison, I don't know how far that would get us. How far? Like, what do you think next?
Let me get a group intelligence from you.
Say that again.
Let me get a group intelligence. From your initial encounter with them, Brannick, you're gonna kind of have that idea. They might just tell us to leave the venison outside and walk away.
Right. Yeah, and then kind of, so kind of to the point that Travion was making. And again, Brannick would also he'd like to get a sense of, maybe how many people do we see in and out of the place. You'll want to take a little bit of time to gather some more information if our idea is to try and kind of get inside. Maybe there are some other people in town who have been up to the castle. I believe we'd kind of asked Rourke, and he said he didn't recall anybody. But he's kind of the only person we've spoken to in town, aside from the senile old woman we met the first time, who kind of told us about Rourke, but then kind of lapsed into dementia. So she's probably not a very trustworthy source of information. And then again, another alternative is to kind of leave this alone for now and continue on our way to Caer Konig, and perhaps try and gather some more information, or kind of concoct some sort of plan in the meantime.
Caer Konig has a kind of concrete problem with thieves, right? I mean, this place obviously has a pretty concrete problem with a castle, with a locked up castle holding the town speaker hostage, most likely. But
yeah, I don't think the castle's any more concrete. Like, it's still kind of rumors as far as each goes. Part of what I mean, like, you guys should suspect something, but it's not necessarily that you know that the speaker is in trouble. But you're going on a lot of rumors, and you've never been to one of these 10 towns where a speaker has been anything but the person you can kind of call on at any time. So to be in a place that you cannot call on the speaker, that's part of the shadiness of it.
Gotcha. So Travion would be like, guys, every area I've been to around here has been nothing, but it hasn't been as it seems, let me say. And I agree. Gathering more intelligence is always the better idea to get the best option. However, the time it takes to gather the intelligence, and I look around as it's like windy and snowy, and I'm like shuffling my burqa closer together because it's cold as shit outside, and I'm like traveling through this would not be necessarily easy, and it would take a long time. And by the time we gather the information and get back, the information could very well be old, outdated, and new things could be happening. I think we should wait until night and try and sneak in undetected, gather as much information as we can, and if it looks like we can't take them, we sneak out and go about our business. But I like information, but I feel like we might it might be different by the time we get back.
do you see a way to sneak in? I don't have wings, and short of that, it's not clear to me how we would gain entrance.
Well, my initial thought is I look over to when I followed your eyes up to the one lit tower, and I see the other towers not lit. So my initial thought is that that side is unmanned. So perhaps maybe scouting the unmanned side would be beneficial, and that would be a step kind of towards the middle ground of gathering information on the unmanned side, and then going from there.
Luther raises his eyebrows, impressed, and says, "Indeed, possibly. How high were those windows?"
I think you're looking at like 40-foot walls and like 60-foot spires. But like the windows that you guys saw lit were from the guard tower. Those arrow slits are effectively ground level, 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah, but those are just murder holes, right?
Yeah, but that's where you saw the light coming from.
And that's on the right side?
The one that you were being spoken to, yep.
Are they still looking out, looking at us, just kind of talking?
On some level, you guys have walked away. You don't have to be too far away, but if you guys stop within sight, it's probably not a good idea. I feel like somebody mentioned, I feel like it was Luther who said, we need to at least walk away right now. And that
Right, and I was saying,
decision.
yeah, I was staying with them. My two thoughts are, and I say to the group, so now that they've thought we have left, those windows that they were speaking to us out of, I wonder. I look over to. I'm sorry, I want to make sure this is right. Brannick, you're our paladin, correct?
You guys do not have the paladin right now. That would be Ethor. He's not here today.
Oh, okay. So is Brannick big? I forgot to write down your height, Brannick. Sorry.
He's about little over 6 feet, but pretty thin. Like he doesn't have a warrior's build.
He's not
stocky. No.
And cleric.
And you don't really see any like weapons on him. Like he's carrying a dagger. But.
Right. And Luther, is your guy pretty big and stocky, or is he relatively small? Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, no, he's compared, maybe not compared to like a fighter, but compared to a person on the street, he looks like he'd probably be a good laborer.
Right, he's the farmer type build. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm looking at the group and I'm saying, well, guys, we could real quick maybe sneak a peek in those windows if one of us stands on the other's shoulders. If nobody's, they went back to their business. You said they were 10 feet off the ground?
Indeed.
I'm going to just go back a little bit and see if anybody is looking, or if there's nobody in the windows or nobody posted, where if they would notice us.
So you're just walking back up to it?
I'm not just walking straight up the street. I guess I'm kind of taking my sweet ass time just to get a line of sight to see if I can see any silhouettes in the windows, to where it would be possible to go up from the side, for example. Let me move my character. Kind of not the main path, but just to see if I can get a glimpse of the windows to see if they're unmanned and if it would be able to get somebody on somebody's shoulders and peek a look, if it's safe to do that.
As you walk back up, you're going to get about 40, 50 feet away from the castle wall, and a bolt is going to stick into the ice right before your feet.
I immediately stopped, saying, sorry, I thought I forgot something up here. Found it. It's right here. Okay, see you later. Yeah, guys, so they're definitely watching out. So what do you guys think? Do you know anyone in town that's not crazy and all desolate and would give us good advice, or do you want to scope out potentially the unmanned side before we leave? Or what do you guys think?
We could either return at night. We could wait for a few days trying to see the comings and goings, or some combination of those two. Or we could move on, but I have to admit I am bothered by what I'm seeing at this castle. It may not be as dramatic as a kidnapping, but it may be. And this poor town is suffering without a town speaker, without fair leadership. On the other hand, one wonders if they are holding the speaker captive, to what end? Why would I suppose you could seize a castle just to just to live in it. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, my only thought is the DM has said that from most of what we've heard, everything is kind of rumors,
Yeah.
and so even if we move on, who's to say we don't spend a whole bunch of time moving on, get to a similar castle in a similar situation in the next town?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, meta, I'm totally with you. I'm trying to, but on the other hand, I don't really have any great suggestions for a strategy moving forward.
No, I'm happy to maybe pass our day hunting, and we can go with everybody's strategy. Like maybe like I'll return at night, and see, or if we all want to return at night, and then like we have the venison to offer them if we get caught. Or you know what I mean. We can like do it all, and then we can go back and stay and see if there's coming and going, or maybe we'll see comings and goings while we're doing that.
So I didn't keep notes as to where you all got contact. That party notes is essentially my doing at this point to try to help you all keep on track. I know Dugan's Hole, for instance, you all have encountered the winter wolves. So that little bit that was from the rumors is definitely pretty solid at this point, that you have an understanding that they're intelligent because you've spoke with them. I feel like the Caer Dineval one, that's purely from Rourke at this point. And maybe a little bit from the senile old lady, and then you can kind of confirm it a little bit um, at this point, rumor wise, having gone up to the gate. I feel like Caer Konig and the Lonely Wood stuff are things that you got from Jaeger in Goodmead. I feel like those are very, like, just sitting around drinking beers and talking about what troubles towns.
So more rumor-esque type of like what they're talking about.
Yeah, and in general, that's what it is. They're rumors until you go and investigate, because people don't really travel between these towns.
I gotcha. All right, well, yeah, I would vote then to come back at night, or if it's still early, bright ass in the morning, we can go hunting for venison while we're waiting, and stay maybe close enough to see if there's any activity. What do you guys
Again, there is no bright ass in the morning. When you wake up and it is morning time, it's still dark, and you see like all of the colors of the aurora as the sky just like shimmers, like oranges and greens and yellows. So even during daytime right now, it's just dim light. You guys are still, it's probably no later than 8 or 9 in the morning, but it's next to impossible to actually tell that for any like assurance.
Okay, fair enough. Not bad, guys.
I mean, we could, as you suggested, go hunting if we're managed to catch anything. Perhaps we could have Rourke prepare it, invite some of the few remaining townsfolk, and perhaps gather some additional information that way.
I like that idea.
I'm nodding my head like that's a much better way to use the venison.
Yeah, really the actual 10 towns map, instead of putting you on it, might be a little bit better. But if you guys are looking specifically for a deer, you are about as far away as you can get from any of the actual places that you know that there's woods,
Oh,
which is
geez.
essentially Goodmead and Bryn Shindar, where you just came from, and then Lonely Wood, which is across the tundra from where you are. That doesn't mean that you can't wander far enough away and potentially fight and kill something. But whether it's a deer is definitely a different story. But they probably don't know the difference between venison and whatever you kill.
Yeah, I'm looking around at the aura colored lights and the vast snow tundra, and I'm like, okay, hunting, just like looking around.
Yeah, the last time we wandered out into the wilderness of the cold here, we were attacked by crag cats, which took one of us down instantly. My other thought about sneaking in for a reconnoiter is that storms regularly sweep this area, during a time like that, we could undoubtedly get to the castle walls, but how we would ever get in a 40-foot a window 40 foot up, that's I don't have the skills for that.
Let me have you roll a wisdom with advantage, Luther. It dawns on me that I don't think I actually gave you this quest. But we are going to call it as if you did. Is the slightest bit of a rumor. When you were in Targos, you heard, as you all were kind of getting kicked out, one of the guards talking about a member of his family was heading up to Caer Konig. There is a expedition outfitter who is in Caer Konig, and part of what they specialize in is climbing Kelvin's cairn. And climbing gear could be especially useful in climbing over a castle wall.
That puts me in mind, but I'm not sure if it was this group or a previous one. Was it Caer Dineval that the town speaker of Targos wanted us to assassinate the town speaker?
Now, he told, shit, I can't
Previous.
remember his character. He told him to do it to East Haven. But again, I think all of you would have been wise enough to know that he was sending you to your deaths more than he was actually trying to do that.
Sure, but that might be something that if that an honest guard would let us through to speak to the town speaker, but different place.
And real quick, are we where that red arrow is, just north of Brian Sander? Like, is that where we stayed the night in that inn? Was in Brian Sander?
Yeah, on the actual map, if you close down the one that I popped up, it's Caer Dineval, which I saw somebody ping it. Yeah, but
there, that's where I thought we were. That's why the red arrow really confused me. I'm like, that's how far away up the hill was? No, I got you. Thank you. All right, I see where we're at now. Okay, yeah. So okay, yes.
Do we have any sort of sense of how far Caer Konig is from Caer Dineval?
Yeah, I mean,
time to get there.
Assuming on some level that you even remotely pass that off to Rourke, I think he could tell you. I think it's about a 6-hour walk with shoes. 3 miles, 2-hour path. That sounds way quicker. Yeah, so it's one of the better paths apparently. 3 miles, 2 hours.
Yeah, so we could get there, assuming relatively uneventful trip. Get there, maybe see about this climbing gear rumor that we had heard, and maybe there's some supplies there we can then get that might, if we are going to try to sort of infiltrate the care here in Caer Dineval, could be useful to have. And we could also see if, while we're there, if maybe anybody there has heard any additional rumors or any information, or has maybe passed by it recently.
All right. Yeah, at the very least, if we can't find anything, I can attempt to pick the lock of the main door and walk in during a storm where they're most likely busy otherwise.
Luther raises his eyebrows in surprise.
On some level, you're gonna know most castles are not like a lock. It's going to be like something dropped down over like hooks, basically. So you have like a pretty large, like, I don't know, 2x4 kind of thing, not like an actual 2x4, but where you have something bracing the doors.
All right, fair enough.
The sneaking in that you guys would recognize with that castle is sneaking in over the walls.
Gotcha. I was kind of thinking on some level like a Prince of Persia sneak in, unlock.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean,
Brannick would.
if you
Sorry, go ahead.
sneak in and you get to that area from the other side, it's probably lifting a like 60-pound piece of wood that basically bars those doors shut. But
Gotcha.
that's like from inside. And it's one of those questions of, you are alone until you successfully do that.
True. All right, fair enough. All right, yeah, so I guess do you guys want to start the journey to Caer Konig then? Is that the plan?
Sounds good to me.
Yep, that was what Brannick was going to suggest.
So more or less, you all just kind of walked away from Caer Dineval, and you've just kind of continued just walking, and then you're going to make that way to Caer Konig.
Along the way, Luther would keep an eye out for tracks. I mean, if a deer happened to be wandering through the frigid Northland across their path, then he might be distracted and want to go hunt it. But it would only be for larger game. So along the way, he's looking for, not rabbits, but deer, or at least, I don't know, lynx or something.
Brannick might suggest they. Actually, no, he probably wouldn't suggest they stop back at the uphill climb again to let Rourke know, because the idea, I guess, is they can, if they maybe they can head to Caer Konig and then return, maybe even the same day again, assuming, hoping for a relatively straightforward journey. Not that that's ever likely in this environment. Yeah, I mean, essentially after leaving the Caer, Brannick doesn't really have anything else to do in Caer Dineval before they start out.
Is there anything specific we know them to be wanting or looking for right now? The supposed guys in the tower right now, or in the castle?
No, all you guys know is that Crannoc Siever has been in the castle. His guards say that he's ill, and nobody ever sees him.
It's so crazy that they say they don't need healing and he's ill. I'm having a hard time just walking away from this without trying to like do something else. But I'm definitely down to just go to Caer Konig. It's just such a weird feeling that we know. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows, like their gut instinct is something isn't right, and we're all just choosing to walk away. It seems weird.
That's what I mean. It's shady.
Like I feel like I want to go back and try and like deceive them that we have something that they want. Like that's what I'm saying. What could we have that they would want?
Yeah, I still think we need more information to formulate kind of we have no idea how many people are in there, how many guards. Even if we can get in, the trouble is getting back out again.
Brannick, let me have you roll an intelligence. Word, yeah, that's not going to hit the DC I had in mind.
We also know this situation has been going on for weeks or a month, so it's not as if they've just taken him hostage today and we have to.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's not an immediate threat. That does change my attitude towards it a little bit more. You're right. It's been happening for a while. So I guess the only thing I'm looking for as I walk down is any, not necessarily animal tracks, but any tracks on off the path heading towards the castle that are just straight line, but not using the path.
I mean, you could do a perception or investigation, but it's disadvantage. Brannick's already did that on the way there, I feel like.
But
And there was
wasn't
no
you
traps.
specifically looking for animals, or I guess it doesn't matter what types of traps in general?
Oh, wait, Luther? Was that the perception? No, I feel like it was the one before that. Yeah, it was Brannick. No, that was like tracks of. There was nobody who came to or left this castle.
Were you looking in the general path or off to the side in where the path is not? Doesn't that matter at all or no?
That's why I said you can do it at disadvantage, but he's already looked.
Oh, fair enough.
You're just in specific looking off of the path. which is basically me saying if you roll like 2 20s here, it might be something. But in the long run, you guys already know there's nobody coming to or leaving this place.
All right, so would that just be 2 20s? Roll 2 20s, you said?
Yeah, just a perception, or you can do an investigation. It's your choice which one, and at disadvantage. Well, I mean, if you roll the actual check, what's your modifier for whichever one that you wanted to do?
There we go. I did it the right way. Sorry.
So just a +3, so a 17 and a 13. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see any extra signs off the path. I think as you start to leave the path, you're going to see that there is a certain level of permanent pack, and that's just the way the snow kind of like crumbles beneath your feet. It would be pretty easy to spot if somebody left the actual like more permafrost, and was stepping on some of this fluffier snow that's off the path, that it would be pretty easy to spot, and there's not any signs of someone doing it.
I mean, just to go back to the hesitation to leave, I think Luther will say something along the lines of, in the few months I've been in this region, it seems to me that rarely is charging head forward into a situation. Rarely has that turned out to be the wisest action.
And at worst, we should be able to get back here tomorrow.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to charge head forth. I'm thinking at every every potential way in would be stealthy, like and like it totally with our advantage. I don't want to just like pick a lock and go in or like just yeah. I'm just trying to think. It just feels weird. I agree. We should go gather more information.
I mean, if Etor were here, we already would have been smacking at the walls demanding entry.
Yeah,
What
no.
else is a paladin for than to just wall hit it?
And if my buddy was here, dude, he plays an orc in almost every campaign I've played with him, and he just loves to just go crazy, rage, go nuts.
Yeah, Ed would be screaming at them to open in the name of God, and
I'm thinking more of a deceptive way in. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, like just trying like, hey, we got something that you're really interested in, and we'll show it to you or whatever. But yeah, let's go gather some more information.
Yeah, another thing that you all could keep in mind is also charming. Use your magic.
Do we have anybody that could do that?
Not today. Luther could do it tomorrow. And
Okay.
without knowing all of Brannick's spells, potentially Brannick as well with a different spell. But that again is very similar to picking a lock and finding yourself inside of a hostile territory. Like using charm spells is one of those things that you might get inside, but you're not going to be friendly for long.
All right, so off to Caer Konig as we're all like discussing this and talking about how weird it feels, but how we definitely need to get more information.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Oh yeah, my bad. It looks like Charm Person's probably a 3rd level spell. You probably need level 5 for that.
Well, I have an Eagle's Splendor, which would improve charisma checks if anyone has high performance or persuasion.
And I might maybe I'll get some sort of sense of the kind of thing that would get us in. But
I have +5.
sometimes I see things.
Oh no, my bad. It's not even a cleric spell. I'm just on crack. It's definitely a Brannick spell. You just don't have it.
I can be pretty persuasive and deceitful.
But like Luther brought up, not all of these quests are quests that you guys should be going on today. A lot of these things are definitely the type of thing where you know something's wrong, try to investigate it, and try not to get in too deep before you're in too far, because that's how people die. And also, very meta knowledge. These quests are not lined up for any particular order. They are level 1 through level 4 quests, so people can die because you're trying to tackle shit too high a level.
Well, yeah, that's why we're on our way to Caer Konig right now. Get more information.
So, as everybody moves along the road, you're going to have. What do we got? I think Luther's our survival expert. Let me get some survivals from you, Luther. Yeah, so you guys are going to have Luther tracking well for you as you start to head north a little bit to the east here, following both the river as well as the path towards Caer Konig, leaving Caer Dineval behind. You're probably going to get about 40 or so minutes out before the snow starts to really cover much of what you can see, giving you a pretty solid idea. You've got about a mile of visibility, getting pretty close to the halfway point before you are kind of in like a dead area where you can't see Dineval behind you and you can't see Konig in front of you. But there is a pretty solid view at this point of Kelvin's Cairn. And among the most difficult aspects is simply the speed of the wind is picking up the further you walk towards Kelvin Cairn, as everything speeds up as it separates around this massive mountain that is more or less the lonely mountain of Icewind Dale. And one more survival loop. And as you all continue on, you're probably approaching. Guess it's still like well before noonish. You have some idea that it's getting close to midday. Moving forward, you're going to start to climb a little bit more, and the actual pace slows down. But you start to see Caer Konig after a while, situated just a little bit above you. It's going to start to look like it's kind of on the side of the mountain. And the closer and closer that you get, you see that its little setting into Lake Dineshire is like butted up against the mountain, but also lakeside in a otherwise kind of similar harbor situation as Caer Dineval. And as you all approach, you will see Caer inside the Discord again. That picture will be Caer Dineval is actually in ruins, and you can see that there's really no actual castle left in this area. But as you get closer and closer, you're going to walk into what would be the town proper. You get a pretty good view of Caer Dineval, and after you kind of round past it, you all will be kind of situated in a central portion of this town. You are overlooking the actual like village below you. Is probably maybe not 100 feet, but like 50 or so feet down inside of that little divot that's just right to the south of that main part of the road. Um, for what it's worth, I think it's pretty clear that one of the largest buildings in town is right there next to the cairn, that's marked as the Speaker's House. So, as a first place to stop, that is a really solid place to stop. But otherwise, when you pull into this town, you're going to see plenty of houses, and as usual, very few of them are actually producing smoke. Very few are actually heating themselves. But the road goes kind of west and to the south or east, and then to the south as it hooks around the harbor. What would you all like to do as you walk into town?
The Brennick's going to, catching sight of this larger building, he's going to kind of nod towards it and suggest to the other two that this might be the speaker's house and perhaps we should announce ourselves.
Luther nods.
Sounds good.
So just like knocking on the door? Or are you walking in? What do you do?
Yeah, so Brannick would kind of walk toward there, kind of looking for what looks like it might be the main entrance and looking to see like if there are anyone's posted outside guards, and if not, he would probably just go step up and give kind of a solid rap on the door.
Yeah, as you approach this building, it's going to be pretty typical that you're seeing a building that is situated in kind of like a canted position. The actual doors that you're going to see tracks leading to are like southerly to the actual tendency of wind to come from the northeast to block as much wind as possible. As is usual, the roof is coming close to the actual snow coverage here, and there's no windows. There's no reason to lose any heat. All of these buildings, very few places that you've ever seen down here have any signs of ever having windows or ever having a use for it. This is an Arctic place. But you will see the door. You will see signs that people have come and gone from that southern entrance. And you can approach it. And for what it's worth, it's pretty confirming pretty quickly here where you're at. So if you open up the door, there's going to be a slight lull before you hear somebody says, "Keep the wind out. Shut the door. Come in, quick, quick."
Yeah, so Brannick would kind of make a little bit of like a windmill motion with his arm, kind of like ushering the other two inside, and close the door once everyone's in. And
And
then
once you all are in, you're just going to see like a older man with like dark brown hair who's just kind of sat aside to a desk just off to your left or off to his left. And after a few moments, he's going to like glance back up, and in a moment of shock, he's just going to stand, and he's a little under like maybe 6 feet tall. Um, Visitors, welcome. Uh, how can I help you? Uh, Artists, how? Why are you here?
Oh,
go ahead, Luther. Larry.
we are travelers, and we bring news from Eastwood, where there's been the town speaker has been murdered and replaced with a new man, a known good character.
A speaker murdered? So this
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what he said.
I didn't catch whoever else went to say something, but if you'd like to, you can. Otherwise, he was saying, Trovis will need to hear of this. And you just see as his glance is like looking to the sides, and there's a pretty definite idea he's trying to figure out where this person Trovis might be right now.
And is Trovis your speaker then?
Roll a persuasion. If you can catch him sober, you call him the speaker. Yes.
So you're saying we
And your
might
name, friend?
All right, hold up. What were you saying, Trevion?
I was like, so you're saying he likes a drink?
Likes may be an understatement. And then he'll reach out towards Luther and he'll go to shake your hand, just kind of palm off to the left with his right hand out. Artis, it's are you from Goodmead?
I am Luther, and I come from the south, but as I said, we have recently come from Goodmead. Allow me to introduce my traveling companions, Brannock and Travion.
Hello.
Brad can kind of give a small nod.
Kind of Goodmead to send a note to us.
And in Goodmead, we have heard rumors that your town has been troubled by thieves. Is there truth to this?
It's been plaguing all of us. It's keeps Trovis on watch through the nights. It inclines him to more drink. You can call that a watch, but yes. And he's just going to kind of like hold his vision for a moment. And he's going to insight check you. So, assuming you're being honest, I'd like a perception from you, or a persuasion. We've found little more than footsteps in the snow. They seem to be skirting the town. I've tracked them as far as a couple 100 feet beyond Frozen Fars. But somewhere off in the north, I've lost them every single time I'm able to find them. They seem to be going about all of our buildings, 2 or 3 a night, looking for something. Why do you ask?
Might I ask, what's been taken? Is there anyone in town we should speak to who's been targeted by these thieves?
That's the damnedest thing. We've not anything of value left in the town. I've taken from the Shorard sisters, and I think Frozen Far lost some scrimshaw to them. But besides a few trinkets, there's been nothing. There is nothing to take.
For want of a better word, we are adventurers, and this is the sort of work we've set out for ourselves to help the good people of these towns in this hard time against the deprivations of bandits and so forth. Have you a sense of the numbers of these unknown intruders?
Other than when we spot their footprints, 3 different houses a night. I assume there's 3. We've seen nothing. Only ever footprints.
Good sir. We come from Caer Dineval. Is there anything you can tell us about what you know about the speaker there?
Don't know. Give me a moment. and he's just going to kind of like rifle through the desk, eventually finding like a little bit of book, a little book, and he's going to kind of flip through it and Crannoc Siever. We have similar interests at the meetings of the speakers, but you don't have any grievances with him.
And what might those similar interests be?
It's point to try to keep what we can of the knucklehead trout prices fixed at higher values as people begin to starve and find themselves in more need, and we have less coin being brought in. Their trade value needs to remain as useful and as high a utility as possible. Every time they take a kick, there's a certain number of our people who flee to the bigger cities.
When is the next of these meetings of the speakers?
They usually have one around the middle of a month, usually around a full moon. Why do you ask?
Oh, then it doesn't seem like there's much travel between the towns, and I was wondering uh, how it works. Do you all travel to one town? Does it alternate between towns?
Brinchendar, always Brinchendar. And you're right, that's not frequent that everyone shows up. Often people make excuses for the weather, for the dangers, and it leaves the people at a loss. It's a good way to lose your position as speaker, but few people want to take up such a job for the danger that, well, you've come from Dineval, you fancy yourselves adventurers. Eh, It takes a brave fellow to rise to speaker, or an idiot.
Indeed.
Well, it sounds like your speaker is always at the tavern, and not very good for this town, what left of it may be. Would you mind, good sir, if I potentially see that book and read? As soon as, usually when I see something I can read it, I remember it much better. Would you mind terribly if I read that from the book?
Make a persuasion. He's just gonna kind of like reach out, like with the pages folded open, but he's not like handing you the book. He's holding on to it, and you can see like a little bit of hesitancy in his like mannerisms. And as it kind of holds it out, you'll just see in common, it's just kind of scratches of like their current information of what they know the different 10 towners to be, the speakers rather. And you'll see kind of like make an insight for me actually. You can have advantage. You don't even need advantage. You can see that there's hashes like made in 12s across each of these names. And there's a certain semblance that this is basically a list of the other 10 towners, like of their speakers. And on some level, part of what they're keeping track of is who actually shows up at these meetings. And you'll see that Crannoc has not shown up for 4 months. But with that, you'll see that it's usually about like 5, maybe 7 of the speakers that are actually going. More often than not, it is East Haven, Bryn Shindar, Targos, Goodmead, and Tourmaline, with occasion of Lonely Wood and Caer Konig. But like Crannoc probably had like a 90 something percent the year before this. Like that he showed up for like say 10 of them, and he showed up for like 7 until he missed the last. Oh, wait, what month do I have you guys in? Tarsak? Yeah, so yeah, I'll have to overlay like some of the like previous year basically. So say the year before last year, he showed up for about, yeah, I mean it's 4 months. Basically, he's not shown up for any this year. No,
Alright.
it would be he missed the last one of Nightal. He would have missed Nightal of last year. So yeah, that fits into that 90% idea. As I bullshit what that is. But yeah, you just getting that semblance of Crannoc probably disappeared or was adopted in his illness in Nightal of last year. Bryn Shindar never misses because it's their town. East Haven and Targos are the big ass towns in this place. They never miss. Goodmead is wealthy enough that they never miss. Tourmaline is in a pretty similar situation. Caer Dineval and Lonely Wood are about as likely to show up, and then Dugan's Hole and Bremen are kind of the rarest to show up. And you can see Konig, they basically have him there pretty regularly. But like he said, he's still just a lush, so he might just be going there and getting wasted.
And that's just on the pages I can see, and then it's a thick book or a thin book, or is that all that's really there?
He's showing you the page that is basically their reference to the town speakers, and it is effectively them over like the last 2 years. As far as things go, it's a smaller little book, probably about like a 4x8, and there's probably like 50 pages, and he's maybe halfway through.
All right, well, I look at him and I say, I really appreciate it, man, but man, my vision is terrible. You don't mind if I just hold it? I'm not going to do anything bad, I promise.
You can make a persuasion at disadvantage. Well, if you need a lens, and he'll just reach back and hand you a lens and set it in between the pages and hand you the book.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm gonna take the book and the lens, and I'm gonna say, oh, the beautiful the lighting, the blues and greens from outside, that are creaking through the streaks of the tiny bit of the door. I can actually see really good from over here. And I'm gonna step to the side, read it, and then I'm gonna say, and look, I'm putting it right back on the desk, and I'm gonna put it back on the desk and make the lens a little bit louder as I slip the book in my pocket.
All right, this is a really great way to get in trouble. This guy just handed you the book, and he knows he handed you the book. If he looks for the book, he's going to know who has the book.
Oh shit.
Do you want to steal this book? Because he just handed you the book.
Oh, you're right. You're right. No, okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still new to this rogues type thing. I'm sorry, guys.
If you're going to rogue, you need to do stuff that people don't know that they are doing.
I need to do it a little bit more deceptively than that. Okay, so I'll just say thank you. I will quickly maybe take this time to look through other pages to see if there's anything interesting. And
yeah, both of them have PTSD of another rogue who thought she could do the exact same thing for a book that has no valuable information, but you just want a sticky hands.
oh, see, I'm just new to rogue in general, so I'm not trying to ruin anybody's time. So feel free to speak up, other party members, and be like, "Hey, no, I think it's good if you give it back to him." You know, I don't mind that at all.
No, like if you've got an enemy, somebody who you're hostile to, try to steal shit from them. That's perfectly fine. You're already hostile. But when you're talking to somebody and you're talking about something in particular, please, for the love of God, don't steal that item.
Thank you.
This is one of those things where, like, this is where, in my opinion, Critical Role is a terrible example. The other week, Matt is talking with an NPC to one of the characters on the show. They quit talking about this specific item, and then that second, that character's like, I'd like to steal that, and Matt lets it get stolen.
I may
You
have been
just had a
channeling that.
conversation with that NPC about that item, and you let them steal it from them. You just had the conversation. When they notice it's gone, they know who the last person who saw it was.
See, that's where practice good, play good, because I definitely saw that, and I was definitely thinking along those lines.
Yeah,
But anyhow,
just,
yeah, go ahead.
if somebody like asks you for your lighter so they can light a cigarette, and you've got a gold-plated Zippo, and then you go to light a cigarette 30 seconds later and don't have your gold-plated Zippo, you're not going to be like, fuck, I must have dropped it on the ground, and go on with your day. You're going to be like, I handed them my Zippo moments ago. I'm going to go find that
true.
person.
Putting it that way is pretty dumb to try and do what I was trying to do. So
But like, when
go.
you're going to like stab somebody in the back and you want to use some action economy to try to steal something from their pockets, go for it. I just think like stealing stuff is very different from how it is in like Skyrim and the idea that you can just steal everything. It's got to be like a realistic, like, be skilled.
Right. No, my bad, guys. Yeah. Feel free to speak up, guys. I'm still new to the rogue class, so I'm not trying to ruin anybody's time.
It's also like if you see something that like catches your interest, like it's like, you don't try and steal it right there, but it's like, okay, you break in, later, or but
Yeah, I mean, I gave the cat girl like 3-4 chances to return the book after she stole it. And my point to her was like, you saw the book, you wanted it, that's fine. Go back any time other than when you just had a conversation with the guy about the book.
Right. No, it makes sense the when you put it, the way you're putting it. I totally agree. It'd be dumb to like take the book and be like, and then he's still looking, like waiting for it back, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I just appreciate that you're willing to take that back, because we have had a couple people in the campaigns who've
Every time you guys have been in Targos, you've been run out of it for the same issue.
yeah, we don't make too many friends.
But having said that, I mean, sometimes like Etor, the guy who plays the paladin, like he's just really he has a tendency to be very headstrong and just states, what his character is saying, and it's actually been like a great dynamic. So, um, you know, if it's what your character does, I think it's fine, as long as you're not kind of deliberately trying to blow
No,
up the game.
my character's smarter than that. He wouldn't just do
I
that.
think there's also the big difference of too, like, as far as this campaign's gone, you guys have tried to be heroes of the 10 towns. Doing something like that was almost where you're like the anti-heroes. You're not necessarily trying to help the 10 towns, but you might eventually help them on accident. And I think that's one of those big differences too. Like, if you go into a 10 town and you're like, yeah, there's nothing that I care about helping these people with, stealing until you get kicked out is much more viable.
I gotcha.
Yeah, given and there's also there's kind of a dearth of safe place, not safe, but kind of safer ish places. So we get kicked out of a town, there's only so many other towns. But anyway, Brannick is kind of maybe while Travion is kind of looking through the book, Brannick would be asking Artis, you mentioned the Frozen Fars and the Shorehead sisters. If we wanted to speak to them, perhaps you could tell us where we might find them, and as well if there's any sort of inn in the area that you would suggest. Should we stay the night?
The Shorehead sisters, they run the inn. the northern light is what was stolen. They have a beautiful lamp they hang out front. It shines the same colors of what used to be a rare occasion in a aurora. It has become all too normal to see, despite the light. Um, yes, the Shoron Sisters of Northern Lights, and then you'll be looking for Atana Swift. He's the proprietor of the expeditions over at Frozen Far. Um, but you may meet Jathra there, and she can be quite useful. I'm not sure if she was quite aware of their scrimshaw, but she's the expedition leader these days. And if you head off, and he'll just kind of point off to the northeast, and follow the trail, you'll see a large gap in houses to the north before Frozen Far will be on that side, north of the street. If you see a large kennel of sled dogs, you've gone just one house too far. And then as far as the northern lights go, if you travel back in along that route, heading back towards the camp where any of our fisher folk are for the barracks, you'll see the northern light is along that northern side. It's about the largest building, but you'll see the empty hook.
Well,
And
thank
did
you.
I hear you correctly in saying that the thieves that plague the town seem to come from the north generally, from past Frozen Far? Is that right?
Oh, when we've been able to track them, yes, we've been able to go so far as a couple of 100 feet beyond Frozen Far to the north.
And is there anything beyond that in terms of caves or shelter that one would normally expect to find, within several miles?
As far as anybody has been able to discover, we're not quite sure where any shelter might be found before you're just inside of Kelvin's cairn and looking to the dwarves. But it seems somebody who is perhaps it's some of the rag nomads, but they're much further up on the ice. It seems crazy to imagine them, and even then, they're not really sneaky folk. We've had open battles with the rag nomads in the past. They're not ones to sneak around and take. They're usually pretty clear when they want something.
Well, you've been most helpful. Perhaps we should go to Frozen Far Expeditions or for the inn, my friends. Get rooms for the
So,
night.
again, once you guys are at Caer Dineval, you really are like kind of nestled in that arm of the mountain. It almost like kind of cradles Caer Dineval against Lake Dineshire there. So properly north of Caer Konig really is Kelvin's Cairn. And this is the Valley of the Dwarves that kind of comes off of the actual cairn itself. And I just deleted the actual name of those dwarves from my easy notes. The Battlehammer clan. Um, and basically what he's describing is that it seems like the dwarf or the footprints kind of lead off and away from Kelvin's cairn. That it's going off to the what is here labeled Icewind Pass, but realistically that's just talking about those two sides of Kelvin's cairn are where the winds are coming from.
I imagine perhaps if we speak to the person who's been leading these expeditions, perhaps they might have some idea of what's been going on in the area. But we should agree it might be a good idea to head there in any event. And Brannick would similarly thank Artis for his time and then kind of he'd be ready to go unless anyone else has any additional questions.
Travion would give him the book back and thank him, and then look to the guys and say, "All right, so I think we have dual purpose to talk to the travelers, and we gotta acquire some gear in case we do want to go back to Caer Dineval and help. I don't think that should be something to forget about."
Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Definitely that other expedition we were talking about. I was going to remind you to get what you need at Frozen Far. If we can chip in as a group to buy whatever supplies you think are needed for that other expedition of ours.
So if you all, oh my bad. What are you thinking, Brannick?
Oh no, I was just saying, I guess like maybe two birds with one stone, as it were. But yeah, nothing important.
So as you all finish up here, Artis will collect the book, the magnifying glass, and kind of put that all back. And you all can head off out. As you open the door, he's going to shout out, shut the door quickly. And then you can start to walk along that little route. You'll still have pretty clear visibility over much of the town as you're looking about. And Frozen Far very quickly becomes clearly what is ahead of you as it starts to kind of round that top corner. You'll just see that there's a single building, and you're already hearing the yipes of the dogs basically across the actual wind, as the dogs are in the kennel just on the east side of Frozen Far. But it's just a short walk for you all over to the expeditions, and you can head on inside. This building in particular will be a little bit different than kind of everything else you've seen, where the south side of the whole building, including kind of that western outcropping, is all almost like I want to say kind of like a southern style of like porch, where there is like an outside area of deck that is underneath the roof. And you can see that it is a sizable portion of this place. And it becomes very clear from all like the hooks and everything that's kind of set up there that this part of why this is here is that staging point of you're getting ready to leave and you've got all of this gear on you, but it's way too hot to be inside. So you need that kind of like, it becomes very clear as you see this place that it is meant for heading off like this. But at present, all of those walls are kind of empty. You see all of those hooks are empty, and you can head on inside. They've just got a couple of double doors on that kind of southern side there, and you can pop on in.
Luther pops on in.
Yeah, we go in.
When you all walk through the doors, you're just going to see a older man, gray. Bam. Yeah. Gray kind of mustache and like thin and gray black hair. He's got a big old smile on his face as he sees you all walk in, and you'll see as he kind of like moves kind of quick for somebody who is walking with a cane in his right hand. He's going to leave kind of from behind a little bit of a like a not a desk but like a standing, man, words are really too much for me right now.
Like a dais kind of thing.
I'm trying to think of a display case but without using glass.
Like a
But he
podium?
walks from like countertop. There we go. He walks from behind a little bit of a countertop, and he's going to approach you guys. But as you walk into this building, you're going to see that there is a large array of different, both adventuring goods as well as very climbing specific things. There's plenty of Arctic gear. And then you can kind of see where that western part of the building kind of juts off to the side. That area is actually kind of like in almost like a mud room where you have plenty of different like sleds and like dog carts basically. And this is one of the few places in 10 towns where you can buy anything that you might want from the player's handbook of adventuring gear, including cold weather gear and um, which you all have, and you can get crampons here. I think the crampons are a gold apiece, and I think we just kind of counted on it. But I would say on some level, you should buy Trevion snowshoes here for a gold apiece as well. I think that's pretty solid.
How much gold should we have?
It's based on your background, so whatever you chose to start with. But you don't really have like besides what they might have as a group, this isn't really a gold rich campaign.
Yeah, but we can cover the 2 gold for this. It's 2 gold for the snowshoes, I think, right? For a pair.
Yeah, that sounds right. And regardless, I feel like that's legit for or for the crampons as well.
I have, yeah, like my character started with only 15 gold, so I'll buy whatever I can with that.
Yeah, I mean you're not necessarily far behind them or far ahead of them. Yeah, so crampons and snowshoes, regardless, are basically a gold a piece, a goldish a foot. Um, But other than that, while you guys are here, again, if you want anything from the PHB as far as items goes, the adventuring gear is all available here as well. But Atanus will kind of head over to you all, and he'll approach and kind of looking over everybody. Yeah. Fitter group, expeditions. What can I help you with? What are you all looking for?
I would like a pair of boots. And what was the other thing you said?
Oh, I mean, as far as buying things goes, yeah. Like if you want snowshoes, and if the group wants to get, I feel like the group already has snowshoes. Is why I said you should buy them. And crampons is the next thing that I think you guys may be relatively aware of. All of the ice that crampons is kind of the other end of that bargain, where having crampons and snowshoes makes life up here much easier.
All right. Well, I guess, yeah, Travion would say, could I have a pair of boots and crampons, please?
Snowshoes will be easy enough. You have some pretty typical size feet there. We definitely got a pair here for you. And a couple of crampons. There you go. Were you heading up into Kelvin's cairn?
We may just be. Why, is there something you could tell me about Calvin's Cairn?
No, we work as guides, and if you've never been, we can surely be the ones to take you. It's a modest fee to hire out our wonderful uh, names, Jatra, and she'll be able to take you all there and make sure to get you back safely.
What's the modest fee?
She's 10 gold, usually, will be for about a 5-day expedition. If you have to go beyond that, it is a gold a day afterwards.
All right, thanks. Travion sits down and looks over at his group and kind of like, as I'm tying up my boots, I'm like, yeah, they got some guide. Gonna take us 10 gold each. I don't know, it's kind of rich for my blood. I don't know, look around, whatever.
So Brennick's going to he's going to kind of while Ravion is kind of like purchasing the snowshoes and trying them on and all that, Brannick will kind of ask Aptinus, We heard you might have had a bit of trouble with some thieves recently. Spoke with someone at the speaker's house. We've piqued our interest, and was hoping that you might be able to tell us a little bit more about what happened.
You found Trovis at the speaker's house.
I believe Artis was the man we spoke with.
No, that just makes more sense. Yes, sadly, I had a small collection of scrimshaw beads that were a payment from some fellows coming out of Targos, and they've gone missing recently. Among whatever's happening here, it seems that they finally found something of value in my shop.
Yeah,
Had
I'm
they
surprised your dogs didn't alert you to the intrusion.
They're pretty talkative. Most of the time, it's hard to say when I should be on lookout. I usually count on the snow to be enough of a issue for anybody traveling about.
You said they finally found something of value. Had you seen evidence of people breaking in before the scrimshaw and missing?
Not particularly here, but they've been going through the town for some time now, 10 day or so. Not necessarily methodically. I think the Shorod sisters lost the Northern Lights 3 or so days ago. And they all of my goods here, and they took the scrimshaw, but I we don't really lock things up, so it's usually the weather keeps people away. I know everybody in town.
So your scrimshaw, the um, this northern light, are you aware of anything else that's been taken?
I think the last I spoke to Trovis, that was all they could really tell had been taken. Don't. There's not much of value in town here, and many of the folk are pretty poor, living with what they can bring in with knucklehead trout. I do a lot to support any needs that people may have, regardless of whether they can pay or not. We're all family. We've got to get through this together. And I don't know of anything else. But I don't think there's anything here to be taken. Otherwise, some of my friends are taking me.
You have an admirable devotion to your community, and it's all the more offensive to steal from those with so little. Tell me, has there been any talk in the town of trying to uh, catch these bandits?
Trovis says he'll keep a vigil for us and make sure to be up and ready for him, but he keeps his vigil a little too regular. But we've not too much of a solution for the break-ins. We try, but All we know is that they come back. It doesn't ever seem to be the same place twice.
We've heard, though, that perhaps they come or retreat in the same direction. Tell me, if you were a hunter, where would you set up to trap these? Where would you like a vigil set if you could find these people?
Well, when we've been able to track them, Jothra has been able to spot their tracks leading off to the north, and we're relatively sure they're coming down from beyond the mountain. But it's hard to tell. Hi. Why do you all have this interest in where they'll be?
We are adventurers, for lack of a better word, and speaking only for myself, I find it offensive to hear of the good people of a town going through hard times being taken advantage of. And I myself would stay up through a night or through the night to attempt to catch them or to see what's going on. Bring them to justice if possible.
You know, thieves, they might have some good stuff. We could return what belongs to the people if necessary, and then whatever else there is could be enough to fund our next adventures. But I believe helping these people is a noble cause. I would like to take part in.
I would. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
You guys hear me?
We heard, can we hear you? And then you went silent. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you now. I hear you.
I just don't know if you can hear us. But this is a perfect time for a break. Let's come back at like 5:45, 15 minutes. If everybody is back before then, we will get started. Otherwise, let's take a little bit of time here.
Okay, I can hear you now. I just turned my headset off and rejoined the Discord. Not sure what happened.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just saying, let's take a break here, take 15, and then when we come back, we can kind of pick things up.
Okay. Did I miss anything? I only cut out for like a minute or two. That last I heard Luther talking and then it kind of cut out for me.
No, I feel like the question was just if he had any ideas of where to search for this.
Okay. All right.
But then wasn't there an answer like to go north, right?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of investigate this. I mean, what I was gonna maybe say is like Brannick would be admitting to a little bit more self-interested motive. Like obviously, I think maybe, some of the townspeople might be grateful if you could recover some of their stuff. But
Oh, you must have missed what Travion said then.
yeah, I didn't hear it.
Because right when Luther agreed to go and investigate to the north, where the thieves were, Travion said, basically in a nutshell, he is more interested in what the thieves also may have, but he does want to return some of the stuff to the townspeople and keep the rest and like divide it amongst ourselves.
Okay, yep, makes sense. All right, I'll be back in a few. I'm back.
I'm back too. For what it's worth, I also grabbed a grappling hook and subtracted the gold from my base.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to take up too much time looking through items, but I'll probably over the week I'll take a look and see if there's anything else, and then I've got some gold still on myself, so if I end up finding anything, I'll just probably subtract it out of mine.
There's a climbing kit that's 25 gold, so I can't afford that.
Yeah, I've got about maybe like 11 golds or so. But yeah, like a grappling hook, maybe some. I've got some rope. I don't know if we need more, but I don't want to take up too much time like shopping.
Yeah, especially I mean, I'd much rather figure out I'd much rather get into it with these thieves or whatever's going on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any idea, any thoughts on how we could set up to try to catch them tonight?
We got like I don't know if it's a case where they come in every night or if it's something we want to try and track them north. If we ask, uh, you know, it looks like maybe Jothra is out on an expedition, but if she's like expected back, maybe we can ask her if she knows anything, if she's expected back soon. Um, See if we can like maybe find some of these tracks or ask like what they look like. Do they look like human tracks? Or I meant to actually ask that at the speaker's house, but I forgot. Like if they could describe what the tracks look like. But
The only I was going to ask that too, and he sort of mentioned that they have these bandits, and and it doesn't seem like the normal behavior from them. So kind of from that, I took that they were, human or humanoid tracks, neither greatly larger nor greatly smaller than normal.
yeah, I mean, I guess I imagine they would have mentioned if they were like really
Exactly.
out of the weird. Yeah. The reason I was asking about like other stuff that had been stolen was I was thinking of like maybe there's like one thing they wanted, but to throw off suspicion, they steal a bunch of other things so that like they don't realize that there's just one thing they're really after.
Oh, that's a good idea. I was thinking of if there was a theme to what they'd taken, and scrimshaw beads, and um, the only thing was the Northern Light like lantern, and I was like, okay, well maybe they light the lantern, and we might look for that, but that's a very obvious thing that's not going to that's not going to be seen from far away.
Maybe there is one thing that they want, and nobody knows that it's missing when it's gone.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking is, the Northern Light and the Scrimshaw, maybe they're only taking things that have some sort of like personal value to the people they're stealing from. Like they're not interested just in kind of like material wealth, but they're taking things that are, you know, like have some sort of value, like personal value to the people they're taking it from. But
Yeah, maybe a witchcrafty thing or an enchantmenty thing.
Did I hear somebody say they bought the climber's kit?
No, I said that I bought a grappling hook, which was only 2 gold, because the climber's kit is 25 gold, which is much more than I have.
Gotcha. Part of what is very important about a climber's kit is the harness, as well as pythons and a hammer to place pythons. Those are a lot of like the safety of having it. If you tie a harness, this is me as somebody who climbs. If you tie a harness out of rope, that is a great way to break your back. Like just tying like a loop around your waist kind of thing. But if you go to like tie like a harness out of just rope, it'll very quickly use up those 50 feet. So there's a certain level of, you might very quickly find that if you want the full effect of a climber's kit, there's a reason like the climber's kit is there. but in the long run, the grappling hook has characteristics that are helpful.
All right, I'm back, guys. And I've been listening to you guys while I'm cooking my quesadilla in the kitchen. And I've been thinking, I think that the thieves wouldn't carry all their valuables back to town. So I think it'd be beneficial for us and more lucrative to go and find their camp. And maybe even if they do their business at night, they may even be sleeping during the day. Kind of try and get a better look on things during the day and then be less active at night where we're setting up a trap.
Do you think maybe we should try to scout them out at night and spot them and follow them back, or do you think that, or are you suggesting that we just kind of cast north and look for them?
Depending on how much daylight we have and how everybody feels about it. Like if it's like 10, 11 in the morning and they are active at night, then I would think they're going to be mostly dormant during this whole day. But if it's later at night, then we should probably follow them back, assuming we see them.
Yeah, I feel it's like maybe, I don't know, like early afternoonish at this point when we reached Caer Konig.
Yeah, you're vaguely like noonish inside of Frozen Farce.
Yeah, so
Oh, go
it
ahead.
makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Stunner, I think that makes sense. Like if they're active at night, then maybe if we try to track them during the day.
Did we get any mention of how long it would take to get to where their perceived whereabouts are? Like it said only 3 hours, did you say, DM?
I think it seemed like they always kind of like lost the trail, like they would follow them out north, but then they'd never be able to actually find where they ended up. Like they lost the trail.
Yeah, they've only tracked them a few hundred feet north of town, basically.
Yeah,
I think that 3 hours was how long it took us to get to Caer Konig.
Oh, that was a 3 hours there. Yeah, I mean, I'm down for whatever, but I would say if they're active stealing at night, our best opportunity would be this would be their nighttime when we're sneaking around. They'd be sleeping during the day or less active.
Yeah, I'd say as far as your plans go, this is kind of between the idea. Are you guys looking to scope out Caer Konig, or are you looking to scope out Caer Dineval? Because that's kind of regardless. You guys are looking at a long night of trying to watch kind of thing.
I think we might have even wanted to head north if we had time in the day, and then if we don't see anything or don't come across a camp of sleeping thieves, then we go back with a few hours to set up a trap and wait for them or follow them.
Well, are we agreed that these thieves seem a little more concrete today than going back to Caer Dineval and trying to sneak into the castle? Let's leave that for next time, right?
I mean, I guess whatever we think is more beneficial to do. Like, if the thieves have been coming for months, like similar situation, like just another night where like, oh, they got you, oh man, they got me last night, like, or if it's like seems like did it seem like they just recently came, or they've been doing this a while?
Yes, I think Atnas said like about a 10-day or so. It's like 10 days.
Yeah, that's a week.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it might make sense. Like maybe we go out, like we try to see if we can like catch their trail with the idea that we'll get back to Caer Konig by nightfall, and if we don't find anything, then maybe we try and kind of keep a watch at night to see if we can catch them in the act.
What do you think, Luther?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me.
All right, so then I perceive we're all in agreement that we head north in hopes that optimistically we're to stumble across a camp of maybe sleeping thieves and like one guard, and that would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me.
All right, I'm ready to do that whenever.
All right, the only thing, do we want to either role play or just quickly establish that we take rooms for the night in the Northern Light?
We can quickly establish it when we get back to town, and we might even be given rooms if we are received as local heroes. We find the ninja or the thieves, like, or we prevent them from thieving. They might, be grateful. Say, here, have a room on us.
Yeah, maybe
I-
we just ask Atlas, like, if there's a particular time that they kind of close up at the Northern Light, and then if we think we need to go get rooms now, or if we'll have time, kind of again with the idea that we'll be getting back here by nightfall or slightly before, and then we'll have time to get there and get rooms then.
I mean, we
well,
could do that
again,
too.
it's just the right. I mean, there's no such thing as nightfall, really. It's just
Yeah.
twilight fall or whatever.
Yeah, I was kind of speaking like generically of like.
Yeah.
If this is a small town like where I'm from, then I mean, even if it's more set in the old-fashioned days, an innkeeper would most likely live at their inn. And if there was commotion in the town of the battle of against thieves, most likely would get up, and it wouldn't be too hard to like knock on the door and say like, "Hey, we just like saved your town from thieves. Can we get a room?"
Well, but just to counter that, we've had at least one town where they locked the doors at 10 o'clock, and if you weren't back in the inn by 10 o'clock, you were sleeping out on the, you were sleeping out on the porch.
Yes,
fair
that's what I
enough.
was.
Yeah,
That's what I
fair
was
enough.
thinking. Like we kind of ask, like, what time do they close up, and then if it's early, we can go there now and just get some rooms for the night before we head out. And if it's the kind of thing where we think we'll be back before they're going to close up, then we just get rooms then.
Was that Bryn Chandar, Larry, or was that Goodmead?
You know what? Actually, it wasn't this group because it was actually all the way up in it was the place with the killer moose.
Oh,
Oh,
lonely
okay,
one.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was specifically the town speaker. Little old lady who went to bed early. So as you guys are planning on this, are you all done in Frozen Far? Are you discussing any of these plans in front of Antanas?
I think Braddock would ask him like if he can just if he can tell them kind of like a little bit like we're planning on getting rooms at the Northern Light for the night. Do they tend to close up at any particular time or?
If you're looking for a room, Ellie'll be happy to take care of you. If you talk to Corey, you're pretty much fucked. But most of the time, Allie should be ready and willing to wake up to let you in. I think everyone in town is happy for some travelers.
Fair enough. Thank you. Yeah, Braddock doesn't really have anything else in Frozen Far for now. Oh, maybe he just asked, like if Jathra's out on an expedition, if she's expected back any particular time.
I believe she should be back today. I've not seen her as of yet, but that doesn't mean she won't be back soon. If you're looking to hire her, and part of why I asked you, are you discussing in front of him? Are you guys discussing going after the tracks in front of him? Because he will 100% push her services on you.
Luther's pretty open about going after these guys, so he's, and this guy seems honest. So Luther isn't playing it coy.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think I would be just comfortably sitting where I put like wherever I sat to put on my boots and kind of just like casually having this conversation with you, just in the assumption that we're here to help the town, so they would want to do everything in their way to help us.
Yeah, I imagine we wouldn't be like broadcasting it, but we wouldn't be trying to keep it secret from him. We kind of like we'd be talking quietly, but like he could overhear it if he was interested, and then
So you'll hear him yelling across the business. If you guys are looking to track them down, there's one person in town you want at your side. It's me, but I'm retired. Jartha's pretty good on her own. It's worth your gold, and it's worth my scrimshaw. If you're able to find these thieves, I can give you plenty of these beads if you're able to return them for me and pay for what you return to the rest of the people. As you'll find Caer Konig has little to reward you, I can help.
Brannick will turn toward the others and kind of, do you think it'd be worth hiring this Jathra?
I look at Jethro and I stand up and walk over to him, and I'm just like,
She is currently not here. This is Antonis speaking, the actual owner of Frozen Far.
oh, okay. So
He's like a little old man.
he's referring Jethro's.
Yeah, what he's saying is like the two of them work together. She is the person who currently does all of the expeditions because he's an old man and retired. That's why he was saying, like, if there's somebody that you want to hire, it's me, but I'm retired.
Gotcha.
And she's second best.
So I'll say, well, we tend to help those in need, and we are not very rich travelers. And while paying someone to help them seems good to you, it doesn't seem necessarily the best to us, as we usually get paid to help those that are able to pay us.
I think you're mistaking me, sir. If you pay for her services and you all come back successful, my reward is far greater than what you'll pay her in 10 gold.
So you're offering a reward. I missed that when my head was down tying these screws.
If you return what's been stolen from the town, and if you can reclaim my scrimshaw, most of it will be yours. And I assure you it's worth far more than the 10 gold to hire her.
All right.
Yeah.
So I look to Brannick and say, in that case, I'm in.
I imagine she knows the area better than us.
Better than everyone but myself.
10 gold is a far deeper purse than I own, my friends. The only way that it would work, from as far as my share goes, would be for her to take part equally in whatever reward we found.
I can front your share.
Yeah, I'll just be like, Brannick, here's 5 gold. That good? Will that can you cover the rest?
Yeah, I can cover the other 5. Luther, if you're good with hiring her.
Sure.
So just a reminder again, Scrimshaw is like bone carved pendants and things. So when he's describing Scrimshaw beads in Discord, those are, I feel like, a pretty solid example of what it is. It's effectively art pieces and collectibles. But you guys would have gathered already, most of 10 Towns doesn't work on coins so much as they work on tradable goods. And this is a tradable good here.
Right. It's kind of like the one thing they're known for, like trading, like down south, or would it be if they weren't dealing with this oral situation, right?
Yeah. It's effectively, like narwhals, walruses, and probably whalebone are probably the primary things that they turn into the scrimshaw. I'm not sure if you do scrimshaw on like terrestrial beasts or if there's something particular about when they're water aquatic that makes them a little bit different. But I feel like it's almost like an ivory trade.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think they
isolated.
also use like the knucklehead trout. I think like the bones of the knucklehead trout because they're like particularly. I think that's maybe partially where they get their name, right? They're like really bony, so they might use that for the scrimshaw too.
Yeah, knucklehead trout. I would not be surprised if their skull was meant to be part of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, real scrimshaw is often like sperm whale teeth, walrus tusks. Narwhal tusks, I don't think so much, but and then the other thing is there's a lot of bone carving, but I think maybe scrimshaw is particularly ivory. Yeah, there you go.
Right. It's super hard to find scrimshaw that is not like very clearly a tusk. And that's part of why I felt like it was probably I felt like at times it says specifically whale bones. Um for how much for the fact that it's like one of the major trades. They really don't talk about it in Icewind Dale, like as far as lore goes. But that's why I say like I feel like it's a part of like it's alluding to these older times where whaling is a big part of things. So if ivory is a key part of it, I feel like there's a certain maybe like the premium scrimshaw is ivory, whereas kind of like the really nice but kind of substandard is just bone.
Yeah, I feel like they mention it in some of the Drizzt books
It
when they goes up to
just
Icewind Dale.
depends on what region of the world you're really from. Like what you're saying with the ivory, that's more of an Asian thing where they like do precision carving, jade, ivory, and then the scrimshaw that you're referring to with the whaling. Yeah, 100%. Before oil was struck on land, whale oil was huge, and when you would go out whaling, it would be like years. I mean, unless you got lucky and found fucking a pod of whales and then it would still be months. And there would be significant time to do carvings and yeah.
And like the what's that like the whale vomit, like ambergris, right? Like that was
Yeah,
really valuable.
Yeah, oh yeah,
it's still valuable.
they used every part, you know.
There's a lot of medicine that comes out of using finding ambergris. I imagine there's people who live in Hawaii who their entire life is going around just like searching for that bits of vomit. Be like, yep, and I've made $50,000.
That'd be
Well, it's
crazy.
vanishingly rare, but a friend of mine thought he found $1 million worth, and it turned out just to be an enormous rotting chunk of whale flesh.
You like found the stomach basically.
Well, he found this, this really smelly blob in the middle of the ocean, and for whatever reason, he's out on the ocean every day, so he knows, he's seen a lot of stuff. But for whatever reason, he half convinced himself, or three-quarters convinced himself it was ambergris, and and eventually it just turned out, yeah, no, that's just rotting whale flesh.
Anyhow, I assume we wait for the fucking the shopkeeper's partner to get back, and then we head out with the partner.
Well, it's up to you. If you are waiting for her to return, and you all are looking to hire her services, I feel like Antinous can. Well, if you'd like, I can send Jarthra over. You were looking to speak to the sisters. You could go to the Northern Lights and meet her there, or she could meet you at the hook, line, and sinker if you'd rather have a meal and take some time to have a drink. Um, it's a small enough town. If you're looking to travel on, I can send her after you when she returns.
That sounds fine. Frank would look towards the others. Wouldn't mind bite to eat and a drink.
Luther nods.
Yeah, sounds good.
So and then Brannick would tell Atlas that we'll head to the hook, line, and sinker. If she doesn't find us there, I imagine we'll be at the Northern Light.
Good, good. Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you all, and have a wonderful day. best of luck in your ventures tonight, and thank you.
Don't mention it. Thanks for your help too, man.
And so, sorry, did we pay him or are we paying Jathro when she comes?
It's a moot point. If you guys remove the gold, that's all that really matters.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Um,
I went ahead and took it out myself.
Yeah, so he'll collect the gold from you, and he'll let you know she'll be on her way at some point here. So when you all leave Frozen Far, he can at least describe hook, line, and sinker to you effectively. Now you guys have all of the knowledge on this map here. And he'll just describe the entrance into that. So if you're going straight to the hook, line, and sinker, you all can walk up to this building. It has a little bit of an awning over the entrance doors. Other than that, it's a pretty typical. There's not much sound coming from it as you approach. And as you all walk inside, the first thing that you are going to see is a little side table right next to the door, and it's got a bunch of beers on it. And you're very quickly going to hear from a gentleman inside. Shut the door behind you and grab yourself a beer. Welcome to the Hook, Line, and Sinker. I'm Englendar. It's a pleasure to meet you all. How are we today?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Oh, well, it's good to see some unfamiliar faces here in Konig. Don't look like fishermen to me. Welcome. You guys see a slender fellow. He's got a scar like across his left eye, and the eye is clouded over white, clearly blind in his left eye. He's got a little bit of like dirty blonde hair, but otherwise seems about 6.5 or 7 maybe feet tall. And he's just kind of like resting behind the bar, about like 5 or so feet away from the actual door. And as you guys like walk in and grab a beer, he's just gonna kind of pour a few more mugs and fill it back up. So there's 5 ales basically sitting on that little table. And you just see a bar before you. It's a little bit longer than it is wide. Most of the southwestern side is all like bar seating, and then there's a couple of seats like in the central area with a couple of like round tables, and then there's probably about 5 like booth style tables that wrap the north side of the bar.
Do we see any uh, other people inside the bar that seem?
Coming in, it's pretty much empty. This is one of those classic. If there's any light outside, middle of the day, it's pretty easy to assume people are out fishing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so
Well,
Brannick will.
okay.
I was just gonna say Brannick will grab a beer and head over towards maybe some of the bar seating.
Yeah, Travion actually wanted to introduce himself to the bartender and say, "Hi, my name is Travion, and these are my friends. And believe it or not, we're here to help."
What are you looking to help on? Are you much for scrubbing floors, or what do you do there, fella?
Oh, you know, I don't mind scrubbing floors, but at the same time, I much prefer helping in a different variety. We heard you had trouble with theft in your town.
You got a couple of my goats just the other day. Yeah, it's been an interesting one here.
What time? Do you remember when your goats were stolen? About what time it was?
As far as I could tell, it was middle of the night, but didn't wake me up from my meditation, and I usually keep a pretty good ear out. Struck me a little bit surprised.
Well, let me introduce you to my friends. My motion to Luther, I guess, is the only person. 'Cause,
Brennick will walk back over when he sees Travion kind of engaging the guy in conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you're not necessarily far away from. I feel like you said you were just going for bar seating, and he's essentially like a couple of seats down from the entrance.
yes, I see Brannick scooch down a couple of bar seats, and I'm like, that's Brannick.
Brennick will kind of nod over while he's taking a drink, nod over his tankard mug.
Now I start drinking and just like look at Luther like fucking I'm done.
Then Luther, sort of does what he always does, which is try to be very open and almost naively friendly. And my name is Luther friend. Oh, it is a cold day out, but we have heard that your town is plagued by bandits at night, and we thought that we might take it upon ourselves to see if we could bring them to justice. And this is meta, but I never know. Like, it seems weird to say we're adventurers. I mean, is that something that people say in this world?
I think a lot of people go about it as far as gaming goes, without too much thought. But adventurers as a job is something that people get. It's
Oh,
literally like if you talk about there is upward mobility in this world, the fact of the matter is adventurers die regularly. But people who adventure and retire are usually rich as fuck compared to anybody else in the world. And that's one of those things to remember, that you might meet an NPC who's blind in an eye and he's a level 3 fighter, but he got enough money to open up his own tavern inside of a hole in the wall town, and live off of that forever. That's one of those things that realistically, a lot of NPCs who own something are probably ex adventurers, and they're the ones who retired. And I think that's some of the key stuff to remember, that if you're a farmer, you're going to be a farmer for your entire life. But if you go off and adventure, you might get killed in a day, might get killed in a month. But after a month, you probably have a couple hundred coin. If you adventure for another month, you might have a couple thousand, which are even more likely to die. And that's one of the things that people get. If you go adventuring, you are wagering your life against a life of casual, on some level, kind of bliss in wherever you go to. It's very much, to me, it reminds me of like almost being like an Olympiad winner in like ancient Greece, where it's like all you have to do is win once and you're set for life.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also like given like in this world, like most people don't really know what's out there. Like it's like you discover it. Like it's kind of I think like when the new world was discovered, right? There were people who were essentially like I'm going to go there, and they're kind of like they were like kind of like the real world adventurers. And it's kind of like
Oh yeah.
people who wander around and go from place to place. It's it's yeah.
You talk to that little old lady who is senile and you talk to her about adventuring, she might know people who disappeared in her youth, but she's never left this town. She would never adventure. Like, it doesn't cross her mind that leaving town is even an option. But you talk about somebody who actually has like something to their name, and it's a completely different story, where you start to uncover like, somebody, including them or somebody in their past, lived as an adventurer. And that's often the thing, you're like either noble or there's probably an adventurer along your family line.
It's kind of
And again,
historically accurate too.
what was that?
It's kind of historically accurate too.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point on why I like the idea of this is a deadly campaign. Like, my campaigns are deadly, is because like, take down a dragon horde and you pull 500 gold off of like a young dragon, like as your share, you could go to a pretty big town and live pretty comfortably. You go to a little podunk town like this, and you 100% can turn yourself into a noble, um, for most people's eyes. And that's some of the stuff where, like, adventuring and then retiring is how you get out of this as a winner. Very few people effectively get to those points where, like, level 5 is the hero of this area. Level 10 is a hero of, like, this general region of the world.
Yeah, I get
Level
you.
15 is like a hero of this continent. And level 20 is where people start to talk about you like you're a god.
And even like merchants and like traders are essentially kind of like adventurers in this because you don't have like it's not safe to go anywhere.
Oh, most merchants are 100% adventurers. That's why, if somebody has a ship, the captain is probably a badass unto themselves. All of the actual people on board are pretty solid um, NPCs as far as talking about it meta. Like, the fact of the matter is like people like that who give adventurers a ride, they're pretty dangerous people unto themselves for a reason, because usually leaving town is the dangerous part. That's why 1 through 4 is so interesting, is because those are the times where traveling anywhere is both difficult as well as dangerous. Once you're up above too much, like, traveling just becomes like, you just walk around, and if I throw something at you, it's just an annoyance. And then eventually you're just like, we're going to teleport where we need to go. But yeah, like, when you look at this guy and you see that scarred face and you see his building, one of the things that will come to mind is that Eglindar is probably a retired adventurer. There's probably a reason that he has that slash across his eye. So you all can kind of chill a little bit with this guy. There's not too much to it, depending on how long you think you're spending here. The hook, line, and sinker is he gives you a beer, hopes that you order more beers, and the sinker is eventually that they call last call. I do not expect you guys to close down his bar right now. How long do you think you are spending at the hook, line, and sinker?
I mean,
I would say an hour before we figure that we'll go back and tell him to have her meet us along the way, because we don't want it to be like an hour before dark before we're like, oh, all right, well, I guess she's not coming.
yeah, I was thinking like an hour, maybe 2, and then if she doesn't reach us by then, we head over to the Northern Light. And we also don't want to get drunk if we're going to be heading out on this expedition. So
Yeah, because the ninjas will be waking up, or not ninjas, the thieves will be waking up at night, and the more time we waste here, essentially, the more dangerous it is when we go out.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think I'd casually mention to Englundar that we were hoping to speak with Trovis, that we're recently new in town and we do have some information that we think would be interesting to him.
Locking down Trovis is always a rather difficult task. And he's just gonna kind of like nudge at the empty beers kind of on the countertop here, just kind of looking for you guys to order more. And he'll just kind of like glance around, leaving a little pause for a while until it gets uncomfortable. And I must admit, Trovis visits me often enough, but he keeps plenty of stash to himself as well. It'll tend out the sisters are usually taking care of him when he's gone a little bit too far, but I have a feeling you might find him resting over at the Northern Light, preparing for another night's vigil and help the town out.
so Brennick he'll offer to buy a second round. He'll kind of nurse this second one, but also he'd also want to ask like Eglindar, what he thinks if he knows Jathra. What's his take on her?
She's a fine young lady. Gets herself into enough dangerous positions, and she's been pretty good about getting herself out of them. Don't think you can complain too much about that. It seems like a valid way to go about living your life.
Indeed, indeed.
So if you guys mark off 5 copper for another round of drinks there, assuming you spend about an hour at the Hook, Line, and Sinker having those 2 drinks. Any other questions with Eglindar before you leave?
So that's 5. Sorry, is that 5 coppers apiece because Brennick is going to buy the round, or is that 5 copper for the round?
Yeah, so a silver and 5 copper will be good.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, normally it's just easier to give the individual prices. But does that sound good? Everybody's heading out of there?
Yeah, at some point when we're private, but before we go to the Northern Light, I'd like to ask the other two. So if we do encounter Trovis, do we?
Oh, hey guys! How are you doing? Jothra, I think you're going out with me? You see as a little person starts running up from the north as you guys are like walking out of the Hook, Line, and Sinker.
Oh, hey. Yeah, I do believe you found the right people.
It's good to meet you, Jothra. And she's just going to hold out her hand as she's looking at you.
My name is Travion. It's nice to meet you. Shake her hand and look at my group.
And she's going to reach out to Luther. You don't.
I'm Luther.
I'm interrupting. I'm sorry. Good to meet you, Luther. You must be Brannick. If you want, I'm back. I can just wait for you. I'm sorry. You didn't want me here. Too early?
No, you're right on time. I think we're actually thinking that we were thinking about heading up like right now, I believe.
Couldn't be better to meet you. We've been hoping to get going today, and now it seems like just the right hour.
You see is real quick, like her worried, like stressed face just goes right back to bright, and she's like, "Oh, okay." I can be pretty bad with people, so I couldn't really tell. It seemed like I was interrupting something, but we're all set. I couldn't really tell from Antonas. Are you all looking to go up to the mountain, or are you tracking the thieves? I don't. Are we just going north, and you're just trying to look to see where they're going? Are we camping out? What are we doing?
Well, tracking the thieves is indeed our first thought. What do you think of that? Do you think that we'll have any luck, or do you think that we should perhaps try to spot them during the night and follow them back to their camp? But you probably know best.
I always say. She just pauses for a moment. Look on the bright side of things. And she's going to look up to the sky. Nobody's seen these people before, and I've been able to track them for a little bit. I say we try to track them.
That sounds fine to me.
Travion nods.
Lead on.
So is everybody pretty good with the cold? Is everybody all prepared? Is there anything and all that you need before we head out? If we're going out now, it's and she's just gonna like raise a hand, and it's got like a thick ass mitten on it. Got about 4 more hours of the aurora before it's gonna be pretty dark. Everybody all set here?
Yep, we actually visited your expedition shop. It was quite helpful. We geared up, so Thank you for that.
Antonas is a bit of a saint, and without him, we'd be in tough spots. I hope my feet get that big. But let's go looking for some thieves. I like to gut thieves. Just open them up and let them start rotting while they're still alive.
So like Brennick's going to sort of like hearing this, like, oh, hoping to kind of just like with the others, kind of like just like raise one eyebrow, like kind of like, so what do we get ourselves into here? Um, hopefully that like when she's turned her back or something, he's just kind of like hard to do it like without actually being in front of people, like describing what he's doing.
Roll a stealth check. Yeah, she's just walking away as you go to do whatever you do for the others.
Yeah, it's like
Particularly,
like
you're trying.
yeah, it's like you meet somebody and then like they talk your ear off and then like you kind of turn to your friend and just kind of like raise an eyebrows, like, yeah.
Yeah, you guys 100% should have. She's like like bubblegum happy, but also like a sadistic murderer. But she's just going to start walking off and heading back towards the expedition. And then eventually she will guide you all past kind of the back gates, and she'll kind of point out, like, this is where I found the trail, and I was able to track it in this direction. And it starts to lead a little bit till Kelvin's Cairn before it like jinks to the east, before it actually starts climbing the mountain. And you can basically tell from her descriptions, part of why they know what they know is because she did this tracking when they got burglarized. But she does a first little bit of looking around, and let's see. Jarek. Oh wait, no. How did I switch to the wrong day? Jarek and Luther have the same skills, just the wrong day. Luther, when you are seeing where she points out these things, are you following her cues? Are you starting to investigate it all? How casually are you like falling in line versus like jumping in to help?
No, I think I've established that Luther, for all the fact that he comes across as bluff, is actually fairly paranoid when it comes to other people's um, motivations. He's very much not falling in line behind her. He's very much a person who's, if a person comes across as bubbly and open, um, he, he's like, okay, that person could very well be a chaotic murderer. So he's uh, validating when she points at something. He's looking at it and thinking to himself very much, okay, is that the same conclusion that I would have made? Um, and of course, if it's sort of beyond him, if she points at something that he just doesn't see and she says, oh, this scratch means that, then he's gonna take it provisionally. But he's actually quite paranoid about people's motivations.
So you're kind of holding back a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
All right, I got you. So as you guys start to head off, she's just going to lead you beyond this last area. And while she's not talking like down to you, she's definitely describing the art of tracking as a skill, as something that everybody can do. But like the little bit of condescension is in that, like, clearly you guys can't do it as well as her. but I do this every day. So, I mean, it makes sense that you guys aren't that good. And if you ever want to learn anything, just come a little bit closer. I can surely help you, and we can get those skills rolling. And eventually, if you put your life into it, you can get as good as myself, and hopefully one day I'll get as good as Antinous.
Yep.
And she's going to start to lead the group off.
And that's definitely Luther would, go up to her and listen to what she has to say, and he'd keep his mouth shut about, the fact that she's perhaps sometimes saying things he knows.
The joy of having you confirm that you're not helping and that I roll a 1. So she's just going to talk her ass off, clearly making an ass of herself as she just kind of walks around. Eventually, she's just going to be leading you all up to a point where you've like followed this arm of the mountain, and you can just tell by her description she didn't expect to be climbing the mountain, and all of a sudden is accidentally climbing the mountain. And there's just a moment of she just stops. I made a mistake, guys. I don't mean to make this look bad, but I didn't mean to come here. We're gonna have to kind of double back a little bit. It's not gonna make us suffer. I'm sure there's a really bright and great reason why we came this way. We're just gonna have to keep our eyes open, and hopefully we can figure it out before we get more lost. And she's just gonna hold a smile for a moment as the silence sets in, and you guys have got to wonder, did we just waste 10 gold? So she's going to push forward. And after a while, as you guys start to get back towards Lake Dineshire is in view, you're going to see after a moment where her head all of a sudden is going to pop up from looking down at the snow and trying to like track everything ahead of you. And she's just going to raise a hand, and she's going to look back at you all and say, "We might be in a little bit of danger."
Can I go stealth, take cover in one of the surrounding, like any type of snow dune or tree if there's a tree?
What do you mean a little bit of danger?
So you guys should be able to see yourselves in the bottom center of the screen.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't believe you have any way to really stealth inside of the snow. You can be stealthy, but you're not going to be able to hide yourself. That in particular is something that is unique to like uh, forest elves. I can't think of the name for it.
I'm not an elf though, so but yeah, okay.
No, that's what I mean. Like elves have that ability to
Oh, and to hide
disappear
in plain
into
sight,
nothing.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't know. I was just gonna try and get a little advantage on a roll if that's possible, but if not, that's cool.
I've
No,
always
at
found
present,
stealth to be very difficult, like mechanic to like know when you can do it, when you can't. I've played
yeah,
rogues. I've
like
played rogues before.
being stealthy is one thing. Getting hidden in like an open snow plane is a completely different story. Getting hidden, like if you guys are inside of a castle, you can run to one place, roll to hide, move somewhere else, and then when you pop out of that somewhere else, then you have that like advantage from being hidden. But like there's that effort of basically going somewhere, disappearing from somebody's view, and then popping out. Um, it's definitely an art form to be good at being like a sneak attack like that. So as you guys stop, Just like you can arrange yourselves in the order that you're basically following her as she kind of stops you all there.
I imagine Luther would probably be closest to her. Um,
Yeah, I'm waiting
and
up. There you go.
Brennick would be a little bit back behind them. And I was going to say, in terms of like hiding, maybe if like in like this kind of environment, like if you can find some like sort of camouflage, like if we like come across like some like polar bear or something and we like skin it and you can get like white cloak, that might help with like trying to hide.
Well, I actually did already think about the cloak that I'm wearing. Like, since we're wearing very heavy things, if I could even use that as a, and then take it off and fight, because I'm resistant to cold, so I don't know how far that goes.
Yep, that's up to you when you want. You do not need to wear cold weather gear. But when you do, you look more normal.
That's what I'm trying to pull off. Yeah, I don't want to seem out of place, and it is comfortable to be a little, warm. It's not bad.
So as she stops you all, there is a herd of elk ahead of us. If we are quiet and wait, they should move on by. They probably won't come this way. If we spook them, they might stampede. And who knows? But I was thinking maybe we could just wait here for a moment while they move by.
So Brannick is going to try and listen to see if he hears any like sounds of hooves or anything in the snow.
You just want a perception check? What are you looking for? Like signs that they're there or signs that she's lying to you?
He's skeptical of her, but he's more trying. So he's essentially like trying to see if he can perceive what she's perceiving, what she says she's perceiving. So he's listening for sounds of like elk.
Yeah, and I'd ditto Luther on that if I can get a roll as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, you guys can do perception checks. If you're looking to test her with an insight, that's fine. If you are specifically listening, you can let me know. But right now, like Luther and Brannick are listening, you're not looking. So,
Well,
Trevion, that's you trying to insight check whether she's lying. And then what are you rolling, Luther?
I mean, I get listening does seem to probably be the best way to see elk, but or to detect elk. But I wasn't quite clear about seeing versus. I mean, I'm both looking and listening. I'm trying to
Yeah, so you can
understand.
do. No, he just described it as listening, and you said I wanted to do the same. So if you just want to do a perception, go for it.
And that was my fault. I forgot I was pushed to talk. I was talking that whole time. I apologize. So yeah,
Ouch.
I see both of my friends listen, like obviously hear her listen for the elk, and my first thought was she's already led us astray, so why should I believe her now?
I gotcha. Yeah, so you can like see that there is a little bit of tension in her body. She is definitely in a fear state right now. She's not like a coward in that she's looking to run, but she recognizes a incredibly dangerous threat ahead. And she's being a good guide right now. She is warning you all that we can proceed, we can spook them and possibly get stampeded over, or we can hide and there is zero threat. Or
So
rather, there is a very reduced threat.
she
She's
is
telling the
really
truth.
okay. That's what okay. Fair enough. So yeah,
As Luther kind of looks out, you're gonna see an open snowfield ahead of you. There doesn't really appear to be much going on. There's a loud whistle to the wind. There might be undulations in the snow itself ahead, but there doesn't seem to be any sign for you that there are elk coming here. Brannick, you feel like you're able to pick up little bits of like the sound of big creatures walking, but you also can't tell. Like that could just be your ears playing a trick on you as far as like the wind goes. It's really difficult for you to tell.
Yeah, so Brent would kind of relay that to the others, like, I think I hear something, but
I would just look back at the guys and say, yeah, she's not lying. There's definitely some dangerous stuff ahead. And then I'll ask, yes, go ahead.
should we hang back and wait?
She did recommend waiting, and that's what we have been doing, so it sounds not too bad of a plan.
So she's going to raise her hand again, and she's going to move her palm down towards the ground. And as she does this, there's going to be flashes of these beasts walking up from the north. And as the snow and the wind is kind of breaking around them, you hear that a lot of the whistle on the wind is potentially the wind whistling through their antlers. But at present, you guys should probably see about 5, maybe 7 of them.
Travion kind of ducks down a little, like hunches, squats down. That's the word I'm looking for. Squats down.
We need to move to the west. And she's just going to move her palm back and to the left. Just trying to keep a little distance, move a little to the left.
Brannick will try to do so quietly, following her lead.
How loud is casting Bless?
In relation to the wind, it might not be that loud, but it is up to you. If you are looking to do it, you most certainly can.
I'm going to cast Bless on the three of us in the party and follow along.
Let me have you roll. Do a stealth check.
I'll take advantage.
Wait, what do you mean?
What,
Right now, inspiration is a plus or a minus, so you can alter the die after the fact.
Oh, after the fact. Okay.
Yeah, so you can roll it, and if you want, you can add +1 to it if you think it'll affect it.
Side question, how fast is the wind blowing right now?
At this point, you all are probably about 50 or so miles an hour. It's basically a wind tunnel on both sides of Kelvin's cairn, and then it like refocuses like over Bryn Chandar. So like this place is pretty much always like a calm day is like 20-mile-an-hour winds in Icewind Dale.
Gotcha.
So yeah, as you start to bless everybody, there doesn't seem to be any reaction from the elk, and everything seems pretty safe at present. But that is going to give you at least a countdown. So we're going to kind of be in initiative order here. Yeah, you guys don't necessarily have to act in initiative, but it's one of those things that like your action economy is now important.
Damn, dude. You're gonna be rolling a lot.
To like 30 feet in a turn, right? We can't
Yeah, everything about it, like your movement, the number of actions that you can take. But effectively, the point is we have to keep track of how long that bless lasts, and a minute is the microcosm of D&D. So this is one of those situations where it's up to you guys. Like, if you want to actually fight some of these moose, that is fine. As far as like the fact of like what a day is, we are getting close to the actual session's end, and this is going to be the only chance at combat for today in particular. That's one of the kind of sacrifices of I didn't roll for any random encounters while you traveled between the two. Um, but it's just one of those things, like meeting two new towns is very NPC heavy. Um, but there is a reason that your hireling is trying to warn you, because as you guys move around this area, you are going to see that a herd of elk is a big herd of elk.
I have no wish to tangle with a stampede of elk.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if like we spot some like straggler after they're past us and we want to try and get some meat, but other than that, I Brannick would have no desire to tangle with an elk herd on the move.
Yeah, I like the idea of like once most of them passed, if like one, maybe two hang back, because we were gonna hunt anyway. So this,
That's true.
you know,
I thought it was funny that the random encounter was actually effectively deer, just gigantic deer. Luther, let me get an animal. Yeah, so you have a pretty solid sense. It seems like the pack is kind of wandering off, and you're going to see a few more of the moose are going to go past you all. Brannick and Travion still just hiding. Let me get stealth checks from you all. So you see as at least part of the pack has kind of moved off and seems to at least be a good bit further away from you all at present. Otherwise, everybody's still going forward with the idea of trying to keep quiet, let them move along.
Yes, but Luther is also sort of studying our guide and seeing if her nervousness seems if she still seems quite nervous, or if that's fading as the moose are passing on.
I mean, she's still standing in front of you all. Like, she is very much like a mother holding you back in your seat when you've got a seatbelt on still. Like, when I say, like, her body is tense, it is more showing that she understands these creatures kill. This is what she does, though. She is an expert huntress.
all right,
I mean, you
Trayvon.
can insight.
Oh, sorry.
You can insight for more on that, Luther, but in the long run, I don't think you're seeing somebody who looks like a coward.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I think I am going to do it. It's just that I was wondering if perhaps it wasn't the elk that was scaring her. Maybe they were being followed by wolves or crag cats or something like that. I think that's the scenario I was interested in.
I mean, I don't think that's far off necessarily for somebody to appreciate that with prey animals, you also have to watch out for the predators. But in general, she senses the moose, and they're plenty of dangerous threat as is. There's no need for anything beyond a herd of elk to murder all four of you.
Got it.
So let me get a group stealth check from all of you all here.
And Trayvon's just gonna get his bow out as well, his short bow out.
Are you in heavy armor, Luther? Are you disadvantaged?
Yes, I am. And when I hit a stealth check, it asks if I want what I should do.
Yeah, just roll another d20 for me.
Would it be disadvantage if he's not moving?
I mean, in the long run, what it comes down to is like failing a disadvantage could be that he's shivering and there's like a loose link of chain that shivers with him. It's not always like a great failure that causes stuff to happen.
Got it. Makes sense. Or like the aurora glints off the chain or something. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's not always your fault when you fail stuff like that. And that's definitely one of those key things to remember is like a rogue, when they roll a nat one, it's probably not the rogue doing some jack shit roguery. It's probably something like you said, where you have like that little bit of like shined metal and you basically like glint your scope off and like reveal yourself to somebody else. So they move a little bit further down. There's a few less like immediately here present to you. And they're getting a little bit further away as they get a little bit closer. What are y'all doing here?
I just readied my bow and stepped away.
So roll a stealth
Brannick.
check.
No,
You're
I did not
definitely
mean.
not moving that far. I feel
No, no,
like
no,
that's
no, no.
over
I
the
did not
30.
mean to. I did not mean to. It's my fucking. It's roll 20 glitching. Hold on. I wanted to actually stay within 5 feet of her. I wanted to move like there. All right. What'd you say? Sorry. Roll a stealth check.
What's everybody else doing?
Brannick's just he's staying still for now.
Yeah, absolutely staying still.
Yep, just give us a stealth check.
So I'm at disadvantage, right?
No. You guys are good. There's a certain semblance of what's going on here. His movement is making him much more of the actual target. And that's one of the reasons why, in particular, I wanted him to do it there.
Yeah, but just going back to last turn, I am in chainmail.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure you have disadvantage because of your armor. So when I have you roll, it should be with disadvantage, yeah. So as the moose continue to move kind of down and past you all, what are you all doing here?
Brannick's still kind of
Quiet,
just
staying
waiting.
still.
A couple of the larger bulls start to approach towards you all, and they're just slowly just kind of ambling towards you. Just kind of looking you over. And you just see Chapter's not really moving in the least bit, still just holding this position.
I feel like Brannick is not as much of a doesn't have as much outdoor experience, so he's kind of following her lead. Like he doesn't want to back away in case that's going to do anything to him, but he doesn't want to cause him a threat. So he's essentially just trying to stand kind of as still as he can, almost like holding his breath without realizing it, kind of thing.
Yeah, Zenvis hasn't moved. He's just got his bow, not pointed at him, but just with an arrow in it. But ever since he pulled it out a couple turns ago or whatever, he hasn't moved at all except for the 1 step forward or 2 steps forward.
If I cast Sanctuary, will it break the Bless concentration?
Sanctuary's concentration? I'm pretty sure yes.
It actually doesn't. I don't think it says concentration. Where? Under duration, it just says 1 minute.
And no. Oh yeah, Sanctuary breaks itself if somebody attacks. I feel like that's its caveat.
Okay, I'm going to cast Sanctuary on myself.
Roll a wisdom saving throw, Luther. So as you cast Sanctuary on yourself, there is going to be a moose that charges forward, and it is going to stop right before hitting you. What are you going to do?
I'm going to freeze.
Everybody else, what are you doing as this moose charges forward at Luther?
I feel like it's still
I
the
feel like
best thing, but just stay still. I mean, moose are no joke.
I feel like Brennick's kind of like tensing up, but he's trying to stay still. He might be like essentially like taking the dodge action in case something turns towards him. He's kind of looking out for his own safety at this point.
I feel like on some level that means you are moving too, though.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like involuntary, like he's tensing up and kind of almost kind of dropping into a crouch kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But he's not like actively trying to move. It's just kind of as a byproduct of what he did.
All right, so the moose that just charged forward into Luther is going to bash into him with horns.
Oh, shoot, pissed it off.
It's going to hit you, and it's going to do 5 bludgeoning damage as it bashes you with the horns. So do a Constitution save. Bam. Maintain bless. And yeah, Jarthra is going to leap to, and she's going to slash at it with 2 swords. Going to miss with 1 as she slashes out at it. And she would deal a little bit of damage as you see a little bit of blood coming down from its skull, and you can see like it's got a pretty thick skull, and just kind of slashing at it is not necessarily the best of attacks, but the time for hiding is perhaps over at this point. And I think it's going to go to Brannick.
Okay, so at this point, seeing the thing charging in, Brennick's going to he's going to kind of move. He's going to try to move like about 15 feet to his west, backing away from these things, and he's going to holding out his hand and loose a firebolt at the moose that just charged at Luther.
Solid hit. As it like burns into this thing's flesh, it's going to burn straight down to the bone. This thing is severely bloodied.
All right. No bonus action for me on this turn, so that's it.
DC 13 on that sanctuary, right?
It says attack, save, wisdom 13.
Yep. So it is going to charge past Luther, and it is going to go Trevion? Yeah. And it's going to try to hit him with its antlers, which it will. And I need a strength saving throw from Travion. It's going to do 15 bludgeoning damage as you are thrown down to the ground prone.
Does Luther get an attack of opportunity?
I don't think Luther's going to take it, but he does.
Oh, okay. He doesn't take.
He's got Sanctuary on, so he's trying to protect himself right now.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So, if I wanted, I could do an attack.
Yeah, when something moves into combat with you and then moves away, when things move away from you, you have an opportunity attack.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna coward my way for this round.
And then it's going to go to Travion. You can use half of your movement to stand up. If you do anything while you are down on the ground, it is a dangerous maneuver as is. So half your movement to stand up, probably do like a bonus action to disengage, and then you can take your bow shot as normal.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna stand up, so that'll be have my movement speed. Let's see. I have sneak attack because I'm within 5 feet of an ally, right?
I mean, what are you going to do? Are you attacking with your bow right now?
Well, yeah. At this point, I'm gonna stand up, and then I'm going to disengage. Will be my bonus action. I'm just debating on whether I want to attack with my bow or whether I want to attack with my daggers.
You have your bow out. If you wanted to attack with your daggers, you are pretty much limited to dropping your bow and drawing a dagger and then attacking with a dagger right now.
Oh, damn, you play. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm not used to that. I'm sorry. I've only ever played with one DM that does that where you drop a weapon when you switch. It's not a free action to switch. Okay,
Your free action is pulling your dagger.
Right, but they would still drop my bow, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're using all of these things. Like, the free action is not just dropping, like stowing your bow and pulling a dagger. The free action is the pulling of your dagger. There's a feat that allows you that your free action can pull 2 weapons, but you have to
that's
take
what I'm
that
saying.
feat.
That's what I'm saying. You're just playing a little more strict. I guess I've played with just I haven't played where it's like that. I've played where it's a little different, but that's fine. I just have to get used to that. So yeah, in that case, I will indeed dash action, bonus action to disengage and take a shot with the bow.
Gotcha. Where are you moving to? And then you've got one moose that is bloodied to the east of Jathra, and then a moose that looks perfectly fine to the south or to the west of Jathra.
And I get 15 more movements, right?
Sounds right. If you don't get away from that moose, you have disadvantage and can't sneak attack.
Can I sneak attack from here or no?
Yep. As soon as you get away from its melee, you can sneak attack.
Oh, okay. Well,
But if you ever have disadvantage, you there's no way to ever sneak attack once you have disadvantage of any kind.
All right, well, yeah, that's what I'll do then. So, all right, I will attack my short bow.
Which one?
My short bow? No,
Which elk?
The bloodied one.
Gotcha. Make that attack. Solid hit, and that is going to kill it.
I'm not sure.
A moose is going to charge up to Brannock, and it will hit. I need a strength saving throw from you, Brannock, and it is going to do 17 bludgeoning damage as you are lifted into the air. And as long as you're conscious, which you are barely, you will catch yourself on the ground on your feet, and it's going to go to Luther.
What are these other elk that are off to the right side of the screen doing? Are they coming in for combat?
At present, you don't quite know. You can use some action economy to do an animal handling, but at present, you've got 3 bulls that are the ones that are
Right.
fighting you all. The other ones, you just have to kind of wait and see, or try to figure out, like, with actual, like, brain power.
I'm gonna cast Healing Word on Brannock.
So, Brannock, you can take 9 hit points there. What would you like to do for your action?
Okay, so my action is I can move or I can unlimber weapons.
Action is not movement. Like, your movement is
Okay.
always separate.
Oh, well then wasn't my action the spell?
That's a bonus action for Healing Word. So, like, if you want to maintain Sanctuary, you could, like, take the dodge action. You can move. You can break Sanctuary and cast, like, a cantrip, or you can shoot your crossbow.
If I cast, do I have to cast Spiritual Weapon in 1 round before I can use it?
Spiritual Weapon can be used the round you use it, but you can't cast Spiritual Weapon and Healing Word in the same round. Offhand, they are both bonus actions, and they're both spell slots.
Okay, I'm gonna break Sanctuary and fire my crossbow into if this bull is, if the closer one is more than 5 feet, that one, if not the further one.
Yeah, right now you are not in combat, so if you were in combat, you would have disadvantage regardless. Like, a ranged weapon is always disadvantage once you're in combat.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna fire my crossbow at the closer of the 2 elks.
I don't think
that
you've
spell
ever
allowed?
used it, yes, but are you aware that your sharpshooter, if you take -5 to your attack, you do 10 more damage?
Uh, oh, no, that's showing up on D&D Beyond, and I've never seen that.
I added it so you could actually know that you have that. So I think you actually have a second crossbow to make that happen. So you don't actually have that value. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that that's part of what sharpshooter does. You don't have to use it. It is a hit to your ability to hit. But I wanted you to know that that's part of sharpshooter too.
I see. In that case, yes, I will attempt to use this, what it calls here, sharpshooter crossbow, and I'll take the hit modifier.
Excellent. Roll that attack. Unfortunately, it's also going to be a miss. You just, like, aim in for the moose, and it's just right off one of its antlers and kind of deflects into the wind. Any movement from you?
Yeah. Yes.
Jendra's going to turn around and just both swords into the moose that's directly behind her and just plink plink off of its horns, doing nothing. And it's going to go to Brannick.
Okay. I don't have a like a cone shape to drop in. I'm trying to figure out if I can if I do a 15-foot cone spell, if I can cast that in such a way that it'll miss both Jathra and Travion. I essentially aim it like centered, like kind of right between the elk. I'm essentially trying to hit both elk, but not either of my companions.
You may have to reload, but do you see Burning Hands in spells below you? And is that what you're casting?
Yes.
So realistically, it doesn't actually those things never actually work very well with the varying maps. So in the long run, it's usually best to just know regardless. But let's see if I make the grid a little bit more visible here. No, you 100% can't see the grid on the snowfield.
I mean, I can make it out faintly.
Bam! Change the color, and it's visible. So, I mean, realistically, if I understand correctly, you could... I feel
Think about, aim
you're
it,
going to hit Jarthra or Travion to get both of them. I feel like you might as well just hit Jarthra with it. Or...
do either of these elk look hurt?
No, right now those two are both pretty fresh.
Okay. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do instead, since I can't hit I'm going to magic missile instead, the one. Yeah, that looks like I can't angle that, so I miss both of them.
That's also not as wide as it should be either. That's part of what I meant, where it's really hard to deal with the distortion of Beyond 20.
Yeah. So I think instead I'm going to cast yeah, and I think it would actually be at the edge of my space, so it would Yeah, so I'm going to cast Magic Missile at the one above me to the right. I'm going to go for a second level cast.
The eastern one above you. So I think that's 4 missiles. So just roll 3 more, make sure it doesn't use all those spell slots.
So it's 12 total.
Yeah, so they're just going to plink, 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 plink. And as you see them hitting into that same part, you're just digging through the chest until you open up the room. You see as that third one cracks through the rib cage, and the fourth one just sinks directly into its heart. That moose is dead.
All right. That is my turn.
And that's going to take it to Travion.
Can I use Portent? I'm going to use my...
Did you ever roll those at all? I feel like when you woke up, I meant to actually say it, and that might have been when we took the break.
I think I rolled them at the end of last session, but I can re-roll them if you prefer. I honestly don't remember if those are from before the last long rest or before the start of the day.
Yeah, I don't have them recorded at all, but I don't see myself with a portent listed for you. So, yeah, I was going to say it's up to you however you wanted to play that.
Yeah, I don't want to even cheat inadvertently, so I'll use those 2 new ones that are in the Discord, in the chat now. So can I give Travion a 16 to hit
Gotcha.
for his roll.
So it still plays out the same way. You'll still have to disengage.
But now it's like an auto hit.
Yeah, but it's still a guaranteed hit. So just like disengage to separate yourself and then going for that moose, just roll damage. So a short bow, I think you're a D6. Oh, and it's with sneak
1d6
attack,
plus
so
1d6
that's going to be
plus
vicious.
3. Do you want me to just to do it in D&D Beyond, or would you rather roll 20?
Oh, it's whatever. If you roll the normal attack, we can take the damage. If you roll it in D&D Beyond, yeah, 17. I think it's going to be pretty much impossible. And I rolled a 16, so it has 18 health. That moose is severely wounded.
That'll be my turn.
And that is the one. Let's see. Yeah, I think. Crannoc, you got Warcaster?
I do not.
You got a dagger out?
I feel like I would have taken it out once they charged in, yeah.
Yeah. Roll a melee attack with your dagger, because you got a moose that is running away from you. And you're going to. So, these moose are going to scatter here.
Killing a moose with a dagger. Epic.
Yeah.
Well, that thing almost took me out, so